Hello, my lovelies. How are we all doing today? Make sure my music is on. Do I not have my music on? The hell? Oh, I don't have music on this channel. That's fine. Hello. Danger Days, thank you. Just give me a name on Twitch. I watched the Miriam interview today, and JFC, that was equal parts rage as tears inducing. Calling Stephen hot garbage is an insult to rotten, festering garbage. Yes. Yep. Iona Halation, thank you for subscribing with Prime and following. Sandscourge, thank you for following. Juniper Husk, thank you for tier 1. Blood K. Becca Bear Bop, that's a cute name. Sashi or whatever, thank you for following. Laymeyer, Just Small Little Bat, Snake Called Snaya, thank you all. Oh my god, it's giving chapel vibes. Thank you. Ugh. And I also have, for the occasion, for Sunday service, I figured, what better time to pull out a lingerie outfit, right? Like, I don't just have an excuse to wear lingerie on stream every day. This is a very special occasion. Cabaret vibes? Stop it, you guys. Oh, no, I know, Spooky Pepper. Yeah. It is my hope that, because what we're going to watch today, we're going to start off with a couple other things first, before we get to the main event, which is Pastor Stephen Anderson of Faithful Word Baptist Church in Tempe, that's what it is, sorry. In Tempe, Arizona, talking personally about me in some very fun terms. And I don't want to make this all about me. I want to make it a little bit about me. But this is still squarely focused on the allegations of abuse against him by now 3 of his children, and how he has gone to exorbitant lengths to deny them. And in, quite frankly, very silly ways. Give me 1 second. Oh. Alrighty. So we're going to watch 2 things first from much smaller channels, because one of the things that has happened here is, there we go, is that as Stephen has grown more and more unhinged because of the allegations against him, more people have started to come out of the woodwork presenting stories attesting to the character of both him and his wife, Susanna. Oh, yeah, I saw Dominic Maslick. I saw Owen Morgan's video on it. I feel like there's a part 2 to that, or there should be. But, you know, we will see. Because they really just covered, like, Owen just really didn't cover much of the current controversy. Whoa. David Wild, thank you so much for $4.99. I literally just passed a Harris Walls yard sign in Kootenai County like 5 minutes ago. That's crazy. Like, okay, when you say a yard sign in Kootenai County, when you say yard sign, I'm picturing like one of those farm signs, you know, like they'll put on the side of like a barn or whatever. Divine cosplay. God, I wish. No, my eyebrows are not nearly high enough for Divine. Twitch. Thank you for Twitch just giving subs, I guess. Thank you for gifting a sub to Moon, the one and only Kim, and 3D Waffle House. Anonymous, thank you for subs to Dizzy Puka, Jawad Buhan, Titus and Blossom, and the Den of Dawn, and Sierra Naruza. Rina, thank you for 100 biddies. Rina, thank you for another 100 biddies. Malir Blackspear, hello, did you hear about the preacher who was sliced in half? He was all right. Classic. Good stuff. Good stuff. Stagel, this lady over here wishes she could do makeup the way you do. Seriously, my old face needs a makeover. If you want, somebody actually asked me the other day, like, hey, you should do a makeup tutorial, which is nuts to me because I consider myself still very amateurish when it comes to makeup, which might not seem it. And I guess I'm kind of not at this point, but the way I learned to do makeup is not for everybody because it's very weird. Like, I don't really use brushes unless I'm trying to do a very precise look. Like, I mostly like blend with my fingers and stuff, so it's very gentle but very exacting. Like, it's very like, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to be able to learn to like blend out and just use like fingers to apply makeup. Some ad I heard. All right, let's get it. Yeah, I was going to say, let's get it going, but I guess let's just get it. So this is one of the first videos we're going to be looking at today from another independent fundamental Baptist pastor who is talking. This one is more of a preface, right? Because I want you to keep these interviews in your head when we're going through and actually talking about Steven Anderson. And particularly the way that he defends himself. And we'll also get to a lot of people. I know Jen from Fundy Fridays loves ironically, but Jack Hiles is another person we'll be talking about today. Who Steven Anderson, in probably one of the dumbest things to admit when you are under abuse allegations and trying to prove your innocence and that you don't control other people. In the sermon, he basically went on an extended tirade about how Jack Hiles is one of the best preachers ever and an inspiration to him. And it's like, dude, he's really, really, really bad at trying to seem innocent. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. He's terrible at like seeming innocent. Give me 1 second. I'm going to give my dog something, and then we'll start this video. Okay. Ugh. Gabriella Scalf, thank you so much. If that pastor isn't a verifiable witness, why is he speaking about this? Because he knows Steven Anderson. All right.
With this series, quite honestly, I have some reservation because I was trying everything I could to talk myself out of it. So I'm
going to speed this up a little bit just so we get to the point.
Praying and just kind of considering some different things, and Certainly there's that within me that says, just delete everything and forget about it, and it's not your problem. But
so really quick, one little bit of background information that's important. After the video of John came out, the interview I did with John Anderson talking about the abuse allegations, another NIFB pastor, Tommy McMurtry, made a Facebook post saying that Steven Anderson does not have his house in order and needs to step down. Now, one of the things I really take issue with here, obviously, is so many of the NIFB people who are speaking out against Steven, which, good job, that takes a lot of gumption because it's kind of creating a schism right now in the movement. But so many of them are doing it from the point of view of like, oh, well, if your children are misbehaving, if your children are speaking against you, then you don't have your house in order, and that's why you're unfit. And I feel like that's just missing the forest for the trees. Like, you're not taking necessarily an issue with the abuse. This guy does, but Tommy McMurtry didn't seem to. So just something to throw out there. Oh, yeah, no, Quiet Kitsune. I think deep down they all don't believe it's abuse. There is definitely that contingent. And I'm going to try and look up the other people because of the main... like NIFB churches, you have Steven Anderson, you have Roger Jimenez, Bruce Mejia, and Jonathan Shelley. So this guy is like a little bit smaller, and Steven Anderson also does he in his sermon, and you'll see what I'm talking about, but in his sermon he comes across like a cult leader more than any other time. Like, the way that he tries to manipulate others and his opinions on others I would call it a work of art if it wasn't just bullshit, honestly. But let's get in here.
Going back to the fact that I feel like I need to address this for those who, are in the know, and those who are, friends of mine and especially church members and such. But we have many people who aren't members of our church who still are kind of, aware of our link to New IFB and Pastor Anderson. And again, I'm not trying to cause any problems. I'm not trying to stir things up. I'm just trying to put things together. And I believe this recent situation and allegations and such have been kind of the final straw that I feel like I need to just finally come to terms with, what I kind of already felt. Now, I want to be clear that I'm not saying I agree with completely the testimonies, not receiving the accusations. I do believe there have been enough witnesses, for me to receive it, and definitely think that something is going on. I believe there's definitely some truth to the allegations that are made, but then you have to ask, what do we do with those? Do we even, are they cause to disqualify somebody from pastor? Well, let me say this. I've
Thank you so
kind of altered
much.
a little bit
My
what my
feed
purpose
isn't
is of these
updating.
videos. Okay, originally I guess you could say calling
Thank you
for
very
the
much,
resignation
Mark.
of Pastor Anderson. Apparently, his church and people from the New IFB, other pastors from the New IFB, have gotten involved, have asked the tough questions, and they have come to the understanding that he hasn't disqualified himself from being the pastor. And whether or not I agree with that, it's not my business. Like, it's not my church. I have no authority to kick somebody out of office of another church, another movement. But that doesn't change the fact that I still have a lot of grievances, I guess you could say, that I feel like need to be addressed and need to be, open as far as where I stand on some of this.
Chris De Laurentiis, dumb question, is anyone called CPS? Yes. And god damn. All right, I'm going to try and fix, I don't know why OBS like resets the notification. You know what? Let me see if I can. All right, we're going to do that. I'm just going to mute the event sounds. I'm sorry. We will figure it out. So hopefully that changes that. I apologize. But I do thank you all so much for the support. I don't want to deal with that, having to log into OBS right now, because it seems to be, anyway, it's a problem. I've been working on it. It's okay. But what was I saying? I forget. It's fine.
So the next video I want to make, the last video,
Scott Blanchard. Actually, most of my audience is probably from YouTube, because I have like 5K, 6K subs on Twitch, and then 108,000 on YouTube. So I get a lot more. Do I think Anderson will get 25 years plus? God, I hope so. I would say he deserves it for sure. Oh, somebody was talking about CPS. So the problem is that like CPS, much like the police, because a lot of people were questioning like Miriam's story of like, oh, the police just let her go and the police like weren't able to help her, and like, doesn't that seem a little sketchy? It's like, no. If you know anything about like true crime, not only is it incredibly hard to actually like prove abuse, unless you are watching a kid get physically hurt. There are so many things you can say, and especially when that kid lives in fear of their parents. It's this feedback cycle where abusers can be like, you know, they can beat the hell out of their kid and then tell them, hey, if you tell anybody, they're going to take you away from me. And you don't want you to be taken away from daddy or mommy, do you? So it's this feedback cycle where the abusers are controlling them. Like this idea that Stephen will bring up that like, oh yeah, CPS workers, they always found my kids to be happy and healthy and everything. It's like, because you told him to do that. As John and Miriam said in their interviews, like when they went out in public, they would put on long sleeves and long clothing to hide bruises and welts and stuff. Like yeah. Anyway.
Sharing Pastor McMurtry's post, and I kind of just wanted to make it clear that I'm not choosing a side or just jumping on some disgruntled new IFB members or anything like that. And I don't necessarily think that's what Pastor McMurtry is, but I'm saying like this is not me like joining some group or some club of new IFB haters. This is just me saying, hey, I'm in agreement with what Pastor McMurtry's stand was on in this situation. So, you know, and I've already many people that don't want to hear this, and they will never come to terms, you know, with my position. Maybe, okay, well, this probably isn't going to do anything for you then except make you mad to listen to me. But if you do honestly want to consider it and you do want to know where I'm coming from, you know, then that's what this video is for. So, and if you don't know anything about New FB or this current situation or Pastor Anderson, again, I know people love gossip. You'll probably want to listen because you're interested, but I would recommend that you just don't even listen to it. It's not, if it doesn't concern you at all. All right, so the title of this video is my introduction to and first impression of Pastor Anderson, and it's actually pretty positive. Okay, I don't have a lot of negatives, but there will be some things that I'll talk about, and then in the next video it'll start getting more
so this is why I wanted to watch this, because a great part of deconstructing has to do with looking at things in retrospect, looking back to things that might have tipped off a sensor, might have raised a red flag, but in the moment you kind of just let it go by. The things he talks about here, again, I want you to keep in your mind as we go and watch Stephen's sermon.
You know, bring up to current events, and it'll be a little bit more negative, all right? But I first want to just be honest in, you know, the positives.
Yeah, Ryan McCormick, I turned the notification sound should be off now. Yes, it is off. I hope it better be off. It's not playing for me. Is it still playing for you? Or is it just muted for me? That would be so dumb. Okay, it's off. Okay, perfect. Alrighty. Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Although I'll point out some of the red flags that I've had all along, okay? So like many, I first heard about Pastor Anderson through YouTube videos, particularly one that came up across my feed where Pastor Anderson had gotten tased by the police officers. And there's a lot of videos on that got me, you know, curious, and I looked into that and I found out, hey, here's an independent fundamental Baptist preacher, and he has a lot of sermons online. Now you have to understand that at this time, and really it was only like 8 to 10 years ago, I don't remember the exact time, but surprisingly, as recent as that might sound to some, there wasn't really a lot of YouTube.
Rochester Swift videos up. Rochester Swift. I don't blame anybody for tuning out of the sermon. It is truly one of the more unhinged, wildly angry, virulent sermons I've listened to. A lot of NIFB preaching. This sermon today is still like shocking. It's a rough one.
And there wasn't a whole lot of access to watching good sermons and stuff like that. So I was interested, you know, hey, let me see some of his messages, hear some of his preaching. And one of the first messages, I think it was the first message that I actually uploaded, or not uploaded, but clicked on, of his, had to do with men who pee sitting down instead of standing up. And it came from the use of the phrase in the Bible, he that pisseth against the wall. And a lot of people had fun with that and thought it was crazy. And how could this guy be preaching a message on men peeing, standing up? I actually understood what he was saying. I didn't at all. In fact, it interested me. It made me want to listen to more of his preaching because I understood where he was coming from and the point that he was making. I didn't think it was that weird. But obviously the title and the subject matter, was kind of shocking to some people. But then I began watching some of his sermons, followed some. He started coming out with documentaries. I don't know the timeline of when certain things came out.
I still have never seen
some of them. I didn't watch all of them, but
the tasing video. I really want to. If anybody has a link.
I actually agree with this guy on a lot of things. And I
we're going over the sermon.
You have to get past some first. Let's say somebody's preaching something and it disagrees with everything that you've been taught, but you've never actually considered the opposite view. It's very uncomfortable. And so that's kind of how I would describe a lot of the things I was seeing him do and say, and the way he was acting. My first response was, that just doesn't seem right. Then I had to ask myself, is it just not seem right because I've never seen any other preachers do that, but it's not necessarily wrong. And so, long story short, although there were some kind of red flags and some things that I felt uncomfortable about, I for sure decided to friend him, follow him on social media, and listen to some of his preaching.
Goblins, thank you for gifting a sub to Sabroma.
And I remember, one video came out called Marxist Lucifer King, about MLK, and just that title
Marxist
made me feel uneasy and kind of cringe a little bit. But I realized that that's just my flesh. How an independent fundamental Baptist preacher putting something out there that mocks.
A little bit.
We were throwing some ideas out there. So that was my first actual conversation with him on the phone and through texting, and just kind of, shared an interest there. So I began going to bat for him, and all the people that I would hear, I would find out people knew about
Marxist Lucifer King is a dope ass name.
They would say very hateful things about him, and I would say,
new horrorcore rap
the
name.
way that you're saying. Like, I've met him and I've talked to him and I've listened to his preaching. I don't think that you're hearing him out and you're seeing him throughout. I kept coming to bat for him. One time I went to a so then I was going out to Arizona at one point because a friend of mine had a wedding. He was getting married out there, and he asked me to be his best man. So I decided to take my family out there on a trip. And so I contacted Pastor Anderson and said, hey, we're going out there. I would love to meet together and go on a hike or a run or something like that. And so we actually ended up making arrangements to do that. So when I went there to the wedding rehearsal, I ended up telling some people, I'm going to go on a run tomorrow with a pastor friend. And they said, well, who is it? And I said, have you ever heard of Pastor Steve Anderson? And their eyes just got big. And everybody that I said that to was just like, one person specifically said, if you, I hate that guy. And if you ever see him.
Here's an interesting part of this. Is how Steven Anderson flips on people he doesn't like. This is something that all of his kids have brought up. Miriam brought it up, where he would, if he liked a guy that she would like go on a date with, it was totally fine. Like, as long as the guy liked Steve, as long as the guy would placate him. The exact same thing can be said about the pastors. The second one turns on him or criticizes him in any way, he completely cuts them off and ostracizes them, which is why you have such a close-knit group that have formed ranks around him, like Jonathan Shelley, Bruce Mejia, and the rest of them.
But whenever you see him, tell him never to come to our church again, because he had been there for some preaching meetings or something like that. And I said, well, was he a problem when he came? Like, did he do something to you guys? And he said, no, we just don't like his testimony and what he stands for and all these kinds of things. And I just kind of thought, well, that's not fair that you're just hating on this guy and you don't really have reason to. But anyway, I went on a hike with him, and I came back and talked about how he was a nice guy, and we had a good experience together. And so we kind of became friends at that point, but more just obviously friends in the Lord, and friends in terms of soul winning and different things that we believed as independent fundamental Baptists and Bible believers, King James Bible believers. But most of the time we contacted each other, it had to do with running and all that, which I later on started an event called Potluck 100.
Foyinski, he lashes out
his own
constantly.
It was really cool that he came out.
Oh no, we will. Danger Days. This is preface.
Inviting
we're
all the
getting
people
to
in the
it.
area that listened to his preaching. They could come out to Panera Bread and get to know him, and we ended up finding a lot of people in the area who listened to his preaching. And long story short, that's kind of the start of what is now our Kansas City mission work. That's soon to be an independent work. This next year it'll be completely independent, Lord willing. And so a lot of that had to do with that first time that Pastor Anderson came down. And when he came, super nice. All the people liked him. He went soul winning with us, and he well, I don't remember if he went soul winning with us on that occasion.
Because right now, and I want people, I realize this goes on a little bit long, but I want people to stick with me here, because there is a turn coming where it goes from him saying, yeah, everything was fine, he was super nice, to not being so fine. And it says so much about Stephen's character and who he is and how he acts behind closed doors, that another pastor would come forward with this, by the way.
But the next time that he came down for the potluck, we went soloing. But anyway, that was my first
It's the same church organization,
years,
that I infiltrated
to be friends, and got along just fine. Although I never completely got on board with the new IFB and joined up with all the meetings and all that kind of stuff. Now, no one's perfect, and I wouldn't expect anyone to be perfect. And if anybody who hates Pastor Anderson thinks that I'm going to judge him and not judge them and their imperfections, like, that's ridiculous. We all have different things about our personality and our tendencies that we might not necessarily agree with. But there were certainly some red flags. I was still able to overlook them for the most part, but there were some red flags that jumped out to me as I got to know him and got to know his testimony and a little bit about him, and I just didn't say anything about it because it wasn't really important. But I'm only bringing it up now because of the fact that in the next video I'm going to hopefully lay out why I don't believe that he should be a pastor. Now, again, I'm not necessarily asking him to step down because that's not really my business at this point. There's nothing. I don't really have any authority to do that.
Oh yeah, soul winning is a very NIFB thing. It's not. I was raised Lutheran. I had no idea what it was.
Considering the recent allegations and just what I know from all these years of watching and observing.
Because, okay, so
I want to throw first.
Minor evangelical doctrinal differences are the lifeblood of feuds between entire sects of churches that are otherwise basically the same. A great example is I was raised Lutheran, so anybody who, and this shit was important. Doctrinal differences, big business. In the Lutheran church I grew up in, the CLC, it is taught that you do not, because you'll hear terms, and even in the NIFB, you'll hear terms like accepting Christ. Like, do you accept Christ as your personal savior? Like, do you accept his forgiveness and his love and accept him into your heart? That's a big one. Do you accept Christ into your heart? And my church was super against that because traditional Lutherans teach that you don't have to accept it. It's already you come with God's forgiveness. Being born a sinner, you get God's forgiveness pro bono. It is not like the Catholics believe also. And forgive me, I was raised Lutheran, so forgive me if I'm ignorant on Catholics. Pretty much everything I know about Catholics comes from The Exorcist. Where Catholics, I believe, they believe that, for example, if you aren't baptized, you go to hell. That's what I was always told as a kid. Lutherans, again, do not believe that. They believe that forgiveness and salvation are free gifts that are given to all of mankind. But those minor doctrinal differences are so foundational to a lot of these movements, and especially the NIFB and how they treat others and try and call them, literally any group outside of them, heretics.
A few of the red flags that I had, I'll finish this video with these red flags. So first of all, Pastor Anderson was very open about the fact that his marriage was kind of a spur of the moment. I can't think of the word when you just kind of run off. He kind of eloped, and he didn't tell his parents about it. And I remember when he said that. I had heard the story, but I'm pretty sure I had heard the story first. But he said that when we were at dinner with him, my wife and my kids, and she was just asking, "Well, how did you and your wife meet?" And he began to tell the story, and I had heard that. I'm pretty sure I had heard the story at that point because I remember thinking, "Oh, how's my wife going to react when she hears this?" And when he said that, he got married and didn't even tell his parents about it, my wife's eyes got big and she was like, "Your parents didn't know you were getting married?" And he said, "No." And she said, "Shame on you." So I thought that was pretty funny. He even kind of laughed about that, but he's like, "What? Don't you think that's a romantic thing and all this?" But in the back of my mind, I remember thinking that's sort of the basic idea of what marriage is your parents are giving you permission and putting their stamp of approval on you to join up with this other person. I realized he was old enough, he was an adult.
I don't agree with a lot of this stuff because a lot of this stuff is from a overly restrictive religious perspective, but we're going to get to some of the other red flag stuff really soon.
And made his own decisions, and so I'm not going to be too judgmental on that. But I remember thinking,
where the hell it is.
Or pisseth, from the Bible, but he would just say it in
all right, here we go.
The common vernacular of today that, would be considered a cuss word by many. And the use of the word crap, actually, to be quite honest, I think my family even kind of picked that up. Whereas at one point, like, we would never have said that because it was just considered an inappropriate word. And I realize the argument comes at some point, like, well, what words are inappropriate and aren't? Who gets to dictate what that is? And I understand all that argument. I'm just telling you what the red flag was and what concerned me. Where he would say, instead of just talking about hell, he would say, like, what the hell? And just talking to people or in preaching. And to me, it just struck me as very odd for a pastor to talk like that, knowing that, you know, many raise their children to believe these are bad words. Society, yes, nowadays society just
Lunar Overdrive, who the fuck is Steven Anderson? Oh boy, you're in for a treat. The founder of the NIFB hate church movement, Steven Anderson, called me out literally by name, not just channel name, but actual name, today in his sermon. So we are doing a little bit of background info on Steve, and then we'll go into talking about why he's still a lying, abusive asshole.
Words that they want. But preachers particularly should be above that in setting an example to what the world even identifies as bad words. Like, if you're watching a movie, you're going to look up a movie and you check the IMDb.
Again, West the Vampire. These are important things to understand, these minor differences and how Steven Anderson likes to bend, like, because this is very silly to listen to. I understand that. But it is important to understand how Steven Anderson bends the rules for himself. How he makes these incredibly, like, sweeping statements about who's unsaved, who's a reprobate, all of this stuff, but then will be like, no, I can say shit and hell and damn. All right, let me get to... I hope it wasn't the other video.
The words, not even flippantly, just use them at all. Really, there's no need for them in my vocabulary, but... and they'll use these with each other. And I would suspect much more, you know, I have heard tell of preachers saying the F word. I'm not talking about this one specific well-known time where a preacher used it behind the pulpit. I'm just talking about in general. I think that they sometimes will use these words at home. I've heard people talk about how, oh yeah, that's normal to just drop the F-bombs and stuff like that. So I don't want to just speculate that no words are off limits. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying is a red flag. Okay, so the next red flag to me was the fact that he just kind of embraced being called this hate preacher. And I understand there are some things that we need to hate, and I understand that the world is going to call us hateful because we preach against certain things. But do we really want to have a reputation of being mean and hateful? And you know, we should have a good testimony, you know, to them who are without. They should be able to look in and say, like, hey, that, you know, we got to be, you know, mindful when we're around this person, you know, that they are holy. Like, they don't use these words, they don't do these things, they don't act this way, and you know, they behave, they're temperate, and they're not quick to anger, and all the things that match the qualifications of a pastor. It just kind of concerned me that that Pastor Anderson was okay with, you know, having these accusations made, and that he never, that I can think of, ever even admitted that maybe he goes too far. Like, maybe he's said that, but I don't remember ever hearing that. In fact, another red flag is I remember him specifically telling me one time, I think it was whenever we were hiking, and I think he said it in sermons before too, but he said, "I've never taken anything back." Now, I don't know the context of what he's saying.
I'm waiting for everybody.
I've never taken anything back. And I think the idea is, like, all the things that I taught, all the things that I've stood for, and the convictions that I have, that I've never gone back on that and said, you know, that I was wrong to do that. And I just don't understand why he was saying that like a good thing. Like, we should constantly be taking rebukes, scrutinizing, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done it quite that way, being willing to humble ourselves and to admit our faults. I'm just saying, as a red flag, I never saw that with Pastor Anderson, and I'm not calling him a wicked person just because of that.
Thank you, Stay Gold.
Certainly a red flag as far as a pastor not being willing to show humility in that way. Maybe he does with his church. Maybe he does behind, you know, when the camera's off.
Let me tell you, he doesn't.
I'm just saying, as far as, you know, people in my life that I love, that I want to look up to, a man of God, that's a red flag to me. Like, I wouldn't want them to look up to me and be influenced by me if I show these things. It's just me. Maybe that's just my feelings, and maybe I'm not being biblical in that, but I think that I am. And I think that a lot of people recognize that to be the truth. And a lot of times just don't talk about it.
Those are some of the allegations.
It's
right?
Pastor Rocky Randall. I'm continuing on the series, and if you've been following, you know, Pastor Anderson was a friend, and I was a friend with some other pastors, Tommy McMurtry being one, who at that time was kind of part of the new IFB. Okay, and so from what I understand, Grayson Fritz was a friend of Pastor McMurtry. And all of a sudden, I was seeing on this group, because I was on a group page, I'd been added to this group of new IFB pastors and you know, people who listen to Pastor Anderson's preaching and stuff like that. And, you know, I would say there was a lot of drama on there. I know they don't like using that word drama, but there was a lot of, you know, people getting mad, memes. Like, look, I'm a little hypocritical probably because I laughed at a lot of the memes. A lot of them I found to be funny, but a lot of them I thought went too far, or they just start picking on people for what I felt like was no reason. and saying bad things about people. I didn't like the spirit of it. Okay, so but you know, I didn't say a whole lot. It would just pop up on my feed on Facebook sometimes as I'm just scrolling down. I would see some comments and memes and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, I saw these memes that I felt like were very hateful and mean toward Grace and Fritz. And I'm thinking in my head, like, this is the guy.
And some of the memes that they've posted before, I've seen. I wish I'd saved them. I wish I remember where they were, but I have seen like memes and texts from group chats of the pastors with like blatantly anti-Semitic, like greedy merchant memes and shit to give you an idea of the flavor that these pastoral group chats from the NIFB have.
Like a couple weeks ago, what happened? And I said something on there. You know, I looked a little bit into a particular message that he preached that they were all calling out. And, you know, I'm admitting here, I didn't know all the details. I didn't know all that was going on and all the accusations. All I know is what I was seeing. And so I decided to watch Brother Fritz's message, which, by the way, I believe, I don't know at this point, like if he still holds to his original beliefs, if he, you know, I think last time I heard he stepped down. He's no longer the pastor there because I think a lot of it had to do with this whole ordeal. And the new IFB just, you know, he didn't want anything to do with new IFB. And that's just hearsay. I don't really know the situation, but so I went on that group. I listened to his message, and I felt like, for the most part, you know, what he was saying, like I couldn't deny or back up the claims that he was making because it wasn't I don't know what he experienced, but he was just expressing his displeasure with the new IFB, with some of the pastors and such. And you know, I'll talk here in a minute. At the end of this video, I'll talk more about what his accusations were, because I think that's very important. But at the time, I didn't know why he was making those accusations, what the validity of it was. All I knew is, based on what he's saying in his message, he's saying he doesn't want anything to do with the new IFB because of these certain things. And then the new IFB was doing the exact same things that he was accusing him of, and making memes about him and being hateful towards him and doing all these kinds of things. And so I went on that page and said, look, you guys, this is really sad for me to watch this. And the thing is, nobody even realizes that you're proving his point by all the attacks that you're giving to him. You know, why wouldn't you just take what he's saying and say, man, it's really sad that somebody's accusing us of these things. Let's live above reproach and, you know, consider if some of these things are true. Now, again, I'll talk more about what specifically the accusations he was making in a minute. But I began to have some conversations with some people from the new IFB. And actually there was, you know, several guys that were saying, hey, I understand your point. I might disagree with you because you don't understand what Grace and Fritz has done.
So
what accusations he's...
What happened here is that they started speaking up against another pastor. Speaking up, they were making hateful memes. They were talking shit about him behind his back. And this guy stood up and was like, hey, this is not, like, we're pastors. This isn't what we fucking do. And for that, he basically gets tarred and feathered.
But I see your point, and I understand what you're saying. We're just making these memes and fun, and you know, it's just a way for us to get some things off of our chest and all this stuff. For the most part, the conversation was pretty, you know, pretty drama free. You know, they were just, you know, having a conversation with me. I don't think anybody was mad at me. And I can't remember if Pastor Anderson actually commented on that conversation or not. But shortly after, I got a call from him. Now, Pastor Anderson was scheduled to come down. I think the next day he was supposed to fly down to Iola for the Potluck 100, and he was going to partake in that endurance event. I had scheduled for Pastor McMurtry on Thursday night to preach. Friday was going to be the event, and then Saturday Pastor Anderson was going to preach, and I worked it out for this to come. I was real excited about it. Our people were excited about it, and I had heard that there was a little bit of some accusations, not only about Grace and Fritz, but now they're accusing Tommy McMurtry. And I knew there was a little strife, but as far as I knew, Brother McMurtry was still friends with Pastor Anderson and all that. And so I thought, hey, when they come down to the Potluck 100, it'll kind of show everybody that, hey.
Oh, yeah, no, we'll get to the thing. Stephen Anderson did dox his brother. Like, he literally, that's something I haven't been able to cover on stream yet. He literally put out a video telling his followers to fly to his brother's home, Miriam's uncle, to, like, stalk them, essentially, to set up surveillance outside of their home. Don't worry, we'll get to that. Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
They're not, you know, they don't hate each other. Everything is fine. We can be Christian brothers and have disagreements and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, when I got the phone call from Pastor Anderson, I thought, you know, one of two things. Either he's calling to say, hey, I mean, shows what I know. I actually thought he might be saying, hey, I agree with what you're saying here on this post, and people are kind of out of control, and maybe he wanted to talk about that. or
again,
he was just asking a question about.
This is another pastor who previously had nothing but good things to say, was just like, yeah, nothing but we hung out, we went on hikes, we talked, I didn't see what was so bad about the guy. The second he speaks out a little bit in a very metered way, granted, I didn't see the text, I don't know. I'm assuming that, like, if this is the kind of guy who's like, oh, we shouldn't say shit, piss, like, I'm assuming he's kind of a Boy Scout, so I'm willing to bet it was pretty metered criticism. Listen to how Steven Anderson reacts.
About the event, hey, what time are we starting, or where do I got to meet you, or something like that. So I answer the phone and I'm like, hey, brother. And all of a sudden, this tone, it was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to come to the Potluck 100. I said, okay, what happened? It's like, yeah, I'm reading what you read. I'm reading what you wrote here on this page. And all of a sudden, like, his temperament went way up. I was dumbfounded because he was screaming and yelling at me on the phone, and I didn't even know how to respond to it. Like, I didn't want to get in the flesh and start yelling back, but I was like, well, where is this coming from, And so I was telling him, look, I don't even know Grayson Fritz. I'm just saying that what he said in that message, I agreed with. And again, I'll talk to you about the accusations here in a minute, but I wasn't even talking about the accusations. I was just saying, like, his point was, hey, you can't be involved in soul winning and claim to be doing all this great work for God and then be okay with just living wickedly and doing all, being jerks and stuff like that. Again, I'll make some of the accusations. So I was just saying, like, his point is true. You can't be a jerk and then pretend like, oh yeah, I'm doing a great work for the Lord and at least I'm winning souls. And so Pastor Anderson is screaming at me and saying, like, if you like that sermon and you want to take his side, you're no friend of mine and I think that you're fake. I use that word. I don't know why that's really stuck with me. And I've asked myself, like, what did he see about me that he thinks is fake? And I'm sure a lot of other people have thought that too. Like, oh, you must be fake because know about you. Here's what I think it is. I think it's hard to imagine for some people that you can actually have friends on two sides of a debate, and you could be united in the Lord and still have friends and not pick a side. And everyone thinks, no, you either have to.
Oh yeah, like we've talked about it. We've talked about the NIFB extensively in the chat, but one of Stephen's big things is that like Jesus didn't have long hair. He didn't wear robes because that's like a dress, and that would make him like a woman. He is profoundly historically illiterate when it comes to that stuff.
Pick one side or the other. Look, you can love baseball, right? And you can go watch a baseball game and you can actually cheer for both sides because you love baseball. Hey, that was a good play. You can criticize both sides. Oh man, that was a terrible error. You shouldn't have done. But you just love baseball. You can love the Lord and love the ministry and love all that and understand that there are some people involved in ministry that are going to do some things that aren't great. There are some guys that are going to do some great things on all different, in all different camps, if you will. And so I think people think that I'm fake because I legitimately can have friends on both sides. Like, I hate even making a thing about sides, but people seem to want their team and they want to have sides. And so when he's yelling at me, he's like, I think you're fake, and I don't think you're a friend, and I think that you are just teaming up with the guys that hate the new IFB and all that stuff. And pretty much just like slammed the phone down on me. And I was just dumbfounded and of course like heart racing and thinking like, what in the world just happened? So, I thought about it for a minute and I was like, man, I must have just caught him in a bad day. I know he's a lot of stress because, people are leaving the new IFB. There were certain preachers that had, quote unquote, stabbed him in the back. And so I tried to text him back and say,
here's another really good thing that you notice is, like, if you've ever met or been around manipulative people and like abusive people and manipulators, there is something you come to figure out as a pattern where somebody will tell you like, oh, just don't, or you'll hear something bad about somebody, but you'll be like, I don't know, they've never been bad to me. But then later, you'll probably figure out why those people left them, why they're not friends anymore, why they don't talk. That's what's happening here. Is that he didn't look at the warning signs until later. And he was like, you know what? Actually, that makes sense now. Why all these people are speaking out against him.
Like, I think I understand where you're coming from. And perhaps I, was getting involved in something that I don't know anything about. It just bothered me to watch them attacking Grayson Fritz the way that they were, when his point was that, hey, all you guys do is attack people and stuff like that. And I was like, they're proving his point. But anyway, I tried to make a little text just to kind of give as much of an apology as I could, because I wasn't apologizing for saying what I said.
Thank you, Lolis Rain.
Just not considering the feelings of some people or something. And, my text didn't go through because he had immediately blocked me. And next thing I know, I look up on Facebook. What, did he block me on there too? Block me. Block every type of communication I can have with him without even, really giving me a chance to talk about it or anything. Okay. So am I bitter about that? You might think I am. I'm really not. All it did for me is just think, wow, what have I been missing? Are some of the allegations true? All those red flags I mentioned in the last video, all of a sudden it was like, maybe.
Oh, thank you, Homelander. I'm sorry about that.
Red flags, those grievances, against Pastor Anderson and the new NIFB. Maybe this is just confirmation. Okay. And before I talk about what Grayson Fritz was calling out and why this is just confirmation, and how that relates to this current situation and allegations that his children have brought forth, let me say this, that I gave my word to a few friends, new IFB friends. They were still big time new IFB. They understood that Pastor Anderson and I were no friends. And most people, that were like that just followed suit and blocked me and stopped having communication with me just because Pastor Anderson did. But there were some who continued and said, this is unfortunate. I hate that, and Pastor Anderson had a falling out. And so I gave my word that, hey, I'm not going to get bitter and start attacking the new IFB. I'm just going to be quiet and just stay back and not say anything. So I want to address that, because now that I'm speaking out, it might look like, hey, you gave your word that you weren't going to do this. Well, look, my word was never based on, hey, I'm just going to be loyal and just, be a coward and never speak out against anything. It was kind of a conditional statement saying, like, hey, based on the current situation, there's no need for me to get bitter and try to destroy the new IFB or something like that. I had no desire to do that. I still listen to a lot of Pastor Anderson's preaching, maybe a little less than I did before, but I still listen. Still had friends, kept in contact. I didn't really know everything that was going on in the new IFB because I was blocked from all that. But it was fine. And actually, quite honestly, it was a little bit refreshing to not have a lot of the drama just constantly in my feed. And so here's the thing that, again, I don't know Grayson Fritz. I don't know what he's been through. I don't know what his experiences were. Here were some of the accusations he was making in his message that that everybody was attacking him for making these allegations. Number one, this was the most maybe hurtful thing that he was saying that was offending people. He said that the new IFB is just full of bad, unruly kids. Now, at that time, I said, that's probably going too far. Like, if I was in one of those churches, at all the preaching events and all that, what I'm talking about, like the new IFB, like the, those core kind of pillar churches, and I had kids that weren't unruly, I would have been very offended by that. However, there was, around that time...
So, there's another, 15 minutes of this. I'm good not listening to it. Y'all can go check out the rest of the video. I want to move on to the other videos we have. Here's just a really short one from a kind of mommy blogger talking about her time getting to know Stephen and Susanna. Again, another person who knew them from church.
Compelled to come on here and say something. I'm going to try to make this quick. Most of you don't know what I'm talking about, but I just want to throw out there my 2 cents.
Fizzless, dead domain. Anderson really doesn't like your YouTube page. Oh yeah, no, he wouldn't shut up about lamb chop here. And I actually, if you can't really see because I'm in the way, but I brought out my other Baphomet stuffies and my little Baffy. That's actually on the corner of the thing, so you can't see it. But I did everything up just for Stephen today.
Be that what it may be, regarding Pastor Stephen Anderson and the Faithful Word Baptist Church community. Any of you that aren't familiar with this community and pastor, there's been a lot of allegations made towards him by 4 of his older children. I will put a link in the description to the account that's been hosting their interviews. You can draw your own conclusions regarding that. He has denied everything that they're accusing him of. But
Faithful Word Baptist slut, please be careful. Like, dead ass, be careful.
Specifically what I wanted to touch upon.
He did call me the Witch of Endor.
I'm actually looking around because I'm waiting to meet someone from Facebook Marketplace.
Accidental gender
and I had 10
confirmation.
minutes to kill. So what I wanted to touch upon is there's a lot of people that are calling for Pastor Anderson to step down, saying that he is no longer fit to preach, that he does not have his house in order because all of his children are speaking out against him, that in itself should be enough for him to no longer be in a place of leadership. He has made it clear
I
that
will
he has
be
no intention
right
of stepping
back.
down,
Give me just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Supported him. What I want to speak about specifically is that I went to Faithful Word about 4 years ago for some sort of conference. It was 4 days long. I only went 2. And then I came back to support the pastors that I connected with, Pastor McMurtry and his wife, and Pastor Boyle, whom I don't think are even affiliated with Pastor Anderson anymore. They aren't. They are not affiliated with Pastor Anderson anymore. But the experience I had there, and this is my personal experience, but I did not have the best vibes, I guess you'd say. I don't usually use that term because I know what it represents, and I don't know enough about it, this whole vibration thing. But I just got a sense of offness or wrongness when I was there. 2 specific things stand out. Now, this was 4 years ago. So I'm not going to say anything that I could not corroborate with my husband, because there were things I thought I saw, but I can't remember anymore if they were accurate. And I don't want to say anything that isn't true. But the 2 things that I can definitely corroborate and know that's true is Pastor Anderson's wife. I was talking to her about they have in the church place, the place that they worship. It's not really a church, but the place that they worship, that they call a church. I guess it's not church in the traditional sense. You don't have a steeple and pews and all that. That's what I mean. But anyway, in the church where they worship, they have a couple small rooms, like the office space and the place where the recording stuff is for their YouTube channel. And they had a couple rooms that didn't have doors. There were 2 like nursery rooms that they took the doors off.
Oh, those are
because
for
they wanted to
sure.
make
For sure.
They promoted all-inclusive family style preaching, where the kids don't go to their own little classrooms. Everyone stays in the main room. If you have a baby, which I did at the time, this was 4 years ago, so my son wasn't even a year old.
Say former person who went to Stephen Anderson's church.
Put it this way, when we were coming home, the first account of COVID in the United States was in Phoenix Airport, and we had just flown out of there, and we all got sick. So we might have gotten COVID. We weren't testing back then. They didn't have the test yet. So for all I know, we all got COVID when we flew home. But anyway,
Horlock. Oh, that's so cute, though.
So they had these rooms with the doors off that you could go into with your baby.
No, pound nobody now. She's recording this in a car while waiting for somebody.
They had one room.
She's not like afraid. I hope she's not afraid of anybody coming after her.
And it had a door. And when I was looking for a place to take my son, and I asked Pastor Anderson's wife where, if that was where the nursery was, assuming that they had a door, because when babies cry and stuff, they don't want to have the babies disturb the service. I mean, that's how a lot of other churches are, so that's what I asked. And she said, no, that room is to train the toddlers. So I was like, what do you mean? And she said that room was used to punish them if they make noise, to train them.
Andrew Jackson, I'm
sit
scum?
through a whole sermon without making any noise, without getting fidgety. So, of course, the degree of punishment I cannot attest to, but
yes, I talked about that extensively.
It's difficult for a 2-year-old to sit for an hour and a half and listen to something they don't really understand. So that was odd. When I saw that, I thought, oh.
Really quick, Andrew Jackson, do you think I didn't know that? Do you know my history with Isaac? Do you know my history on the channel? Do you know how many videos and deep dives I've done into Nazis? Do you think I didn't know that when I interviewed him? Did you actually watch that interview where I extensively talk about the purpose behind actually interviewing him? No, I don't think you do. I'm not surprised his wife is too.
That's odd. And then the other thing, I actually saw a kid getting beaten with a wooden spoon. One of the people that went there kept a wooden spoon tied on a rope around her waist
fucking
that she just had at the ready
behavior.
To beat any of her innumerable children with. I would say it was mostly spanking. I've never spanked a child with a wooden spoon. I've only spanked my toddlers, and when I spanked them, it hurt my hand as much as it hurt their butt. So I felt that was fitting. But that.
Chris Lasala on YouTube. Why are you bothering Anderson, sodomite? I think it means sodomite, honey. Well, I'm bothering him. I guess I am bothering him. I am under his skin. Get up under your skin like a splinter.
that stuff, like the wooden spoon thing, I kept watching this woman walk around with this wooden spoon swaying about, and it just disturbed me. And
Dead Domain, you didn't once confront him in the interview. Confront him about what? The thing that the interview wasn't about? I don't understand why people expect me to cover every single topic on an interview that is about a specific topic. Like, you go. Isaac is constantly commenting to people in my mentions. He's not hard to reach. Go confront him yourself. It's not like he's afraid of it. Like, what would that have achieved? Me owning him publicly? Like, then we literally would not be here exposing his dad as the piece of shit abuser he is. I don't get what your point is.
maybe. I believe I'll be right back. Okay, I'm getting I got some crates.
Sodamite.
I'm trying to do expand my pantry.
Yeah, history's actor.
Maybe I'll make a video about that. My pantry's a disaster, and I keep food hoard.
I mean, like, okay, hold on. Somebody's saying, who cares if Isaac is a Nazi? It's not the topic. I mean, like, I do care. That's why I spent like 10 minutes at the beginning of the video carefully explaining why I wasn't platforming him and why we weren't talking about his beliefs and why that was important. Like, go watch that video.
Because there's a lot of good deals right now, and I keep thinking, okay, I'm gonna get this chicken that's $1.49 a pound, because with the turmoil of everything going on right now, it may not be $1.49 a pound much longer, you know. So anyway, about this whole thing, and I'm gonna just wrap it up with a bow. My whole point is, he is not going to step down, and they're not going to ask him to step down, because even though some of the things that he's accused of are extreme, they are not that far removed from what is being practiced, taught, and encouraged throughout the entire congregation. So,
no, John and Miriam,
that,
again, did you actually watch the interviews? Like, Miriam, I ended up cutting an hour of stuff from Miriam's account. Like, we talked about so much stuff. And that video is still like an hour and a half. For John's interview, John literally says he thinks his brother's beliefs, Isaac, are crazy. He thinks they're weird. Like, no, they're not Nazis. They grew up in a extremely far-right household, and they've all internalized some of that stuff in different ways, but Miriam and John are not Nazis. Like, Miriam spoke out against her mother's open racism. Come on. Also, what is gained by looking at these kids who are 17 and 18 and denouncing them outright as being Nazis? Like, they aren't. There's no proof that they are. But what do we hope to accomplish for these kids who are obviously needing an outlet to decompress, to deconstruct the harmful shit they grew up with, who were in a abusive, controlling, manipulative household? Do you think trying to hand wave them or force them into a box because their lives are just starting out is going to help them at all? Hello, dog. Hello, dog. Hello, dog. Hey, down. Stop it. Okay, do you need to go to kitchen? You're being bad. You're being very naughty.
They see the harm.
Chris Lasala.
Going on.
Really quick, does anybody know where Chris Lasala preaches from? I'd love to go look up his thing. Do you remember Creationist Cat? I do not. I've heard of it, but I do not. Creationist Cat. I've heard of it. It doesn't, yeah. No, and I would say this to Isaac, just like I would say anything to John or Miriam. Like, I completely disagree with him. He knows where I stand on things. But I think a lot of his belief system, the things that he claims to believe, which I believe he does stand behind, I think a lot of it comes from a shitty upbringing that he doesn't realize how much actually affected him, right? Oh, hey, it's Vadim. Okay, yeah, I know Creationist Cat then. Yeah.
Some of us that don't go to that church might. I mean, this is a lot more normal there than it would be maybe in other places. His methods might be a little more extreme. And in
Dead Domain, he abuses his wife. Okay. Like, that helps to prove my point. Like, where the apple doesn't fall from, if that is true, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I'm not saying I'm a friend with him. Like, what? I don't know what your point is here. Okay, give me 1 second.
if the allegations are true, they're a lot more extreme and, I mean, very concerning. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think that everybody out there right now advocating for him to step down is going to get what they want. It's just the reality of it. So I just, I don't think anyone's really talked about this, the fact that he's probably not the only one doing these things in the place that he worships in. So there you have it. There's some random person that is not even involved.
Whoa. Really? Creationist Cat is a character from the Bible Reloaded with Hannah and Jake Expanded Universe. Did it really get started with Hannah and Jake? No. Did it? Fascinating. I didn't know that. Okay. So now, before we get to, we have one more video I want to do before we get to the main meat of today. And that is this video Steven Anderson did 2 days ago. 2 days ago? 3 days ago? 2 days ago. Where he explicitly doxes, he basically reiterates large portions of Miriam's story and then doxes his brother. And I don't really have a way to skip over the dox stuff. So, like, I assume that, you know, people in my chat are going to be cool about it. Yeah, I was also disappointed to learn about Hannah. Yeah, exactly. Prixie. The kids are going to know forever that queer progressives were the people who cared. Like, when we get to perfect example of why I'm fine, I can live. I can live with a conversation with Isaac on my conscience for whatever that's worth to you, because I was able to be there for kids nobody else would platform and nobody else would listen to. I can live with that. Like, that doesn't mean I disagree or hate Nazism any less. That doesn't mean I'm creating spaces for Nazis. Media breakdown. Thank you for $4.99. Are people seriously trying to call you out for not being a good journalist? Your CPAC undercover stuff alone is proof of your empathy and nuance. I try. People are always gonna... I knew the thing with Isaac was going to be contentious. It always has been. There are a bunch of people on the, like, Fundy Snark board who... like tried to say I was platforming a Nazi, and that's just like, it's not the fucking case. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, there is more nuance to the issue than just like, oh, are you talking to somebody who's held Nazi beliefs? It's like, okay, well, what are you talking about? What is the point of the conversation? What does it reflect upon them that they had this shitty upbringing enough that they decided to be a Nazi? Like, and again, all of these things I've talked to Isaac about. I'd say them to his face. Like, this is not, like, I am not hiding my disdain for this by any stretch. Anderson's fanboys appear to have found the live stream. Oh, good. I hope I discussed them. In my beautiful drag makeup and my lingerie. Hope you enjoyed the show.
That she is still at my brother Clint's house. He was holding her there against my will already.
Now,
like a couple months. And so, again, if anybody lives in that area and is able to...
Really important part here is how he talks about Miriam. where he says that she's being held against her will. What he means, and he just had a little bit of a slip there, what he actually means is that against his will. See, he literally just talks about her like she's property here, which is a very common thing in evangelical circles when talking about kids.
To, stake out the place or something and see if they can, see her coming or going or something, so that we can contact law enforcement right away and get our daughter back from her 49-year-old uncle, Clint Anderson. And you know what? Give Clint a call, text him, and demand.
Now we're gonna skip through that.
And it's wicked, and I'm gonna explain the whole story, and I have proof too. So we'll get to that in a little bit. Also,
it's very funny.
Clint's sons are helping with this. His adult children.
One of the reasons that I want to play this is that he shows texts between him and his brother that just make him look bad. Nothing he says here actually disproves Miriam's testimony at all. Nothing he says. He is giving the other side of the coin and trying to soften the blow of what he did. But yeah, unbelievable.
Adults, they're over 18. They should be responsible for their actions. When I went there to try to get my daughter back, they're over there being the muscle, outside and basically protecting Clint. And you know what? They're participating in this too. Logan Anderson, okay? Dane Anderson, Brock Anderson, okay? These guys are adults living in that house, helping Clint abduct my daughter. Now, let me just back up and tell the story here, okay? I sent my daughter out there on vacation, just not thinking that anything weird was going to happen, because I just assumed that she could just go there and spend time with her cousins, spend time with her second cousins. We all like to go out there to South Carolina because we have a lot of family out there and spend time out there. So Miriam really wanted to go out there for spring break. We sent her out there for spring break. She had a good time. She came home. Everything was cool.
Thank you, New
I didn't
Fall.
think anything of it. So then in the summer, she wanted to go again for another vacation, do a Christian camp, do some other stuff while she's out there. She's 17. I was trying to let her spread her wings a little bit, with the understanding that my brother Clint was actually going to supervise and have some basic rules and things, and basically respect.
Yeah, I don't want to derail. I know some people in the chat are talking. I don't want to. Yeah, Miriam Anderson is Steve Anderson's daughter. That's who I've been talking about. Yes, this is Steven Anderson. No, Brooke, here's the interesting thing. I don't know, before anybody asks or before, Anderson haters start coming for me, I don't know where Miriam is. That is by design. I have not asked. I do not want to know. I know that other people she's talked to know where she is and know that she's safe, and that, they want to handle that. That's totally fine. That I don't need to be involved in that at all. However, I do not believe, and Miriam has said this publicly, Isaac has said this publicly, so I feel okay sharing it, I do not believe that she's at her uncle's house. So not only is this retaliatory strike by him completely unwarranted, probably illegal, but it's not even in search of the, actual information he wants.
That, hey, I'm trusting you with my daughter here, and so, take care of her, watch her, have rules, etc. And by the way, let me just stop and say this. My daughter and I had a really good relationship before she went out there to stay with him. I mean, I can't even imagine having a better relationship with any daughter. As God is my witness, my daughter and I were good buddies, and she's told this to tons of people. And you know what? Anybody who actually knows us and has actually seen me interact with my daughter and been around my daughter and me together will know what they've seen with their own eyes, that we get along great, that we're buddies.
Now here's the fun part, and I'm being facetious, of course, when I say fun. You have to wonder, as Steve continues to talk about how much his family actually loves him and how much everybody's super happy and how much all of these people are just lying, you have to ask, well, why? Why would 3, and I haven't spoken to Solomon personally, but I've heard that he will back up the others' claims. Why would 3, technically 4, of your kids speak out against you if they have nothing against you? Especially, and here is one of the most important things. In showing off all of their different testimonies, and I hope what comes across more than anything else is how different each of the Anderson kids are, like siblings often are, right? Everybody is a little bit different. But from John to Isaac, and having spoken to them, again, outside of the interviews, I get an additional feeling for just how different they are as people, how they talk, the vernacular they used, the references they make, stuff like that. They come from the same background, right? But they have drastically different goals in life, drastically different approaches to life, yet are united in this, in speaking out against their father, specifically on abuse that they all attest to.
That we're good friends, that we have a great relationship, okay? I was driving her to all her theater stuff because she's into acting and theater and singing and stuff. I was driving her to that stuff constantly. We're hanging out in the car. We're going to Chipotle. We're going to Jamba Juice. We had all kinds of fun together and had a great relationship. Now look, her relationship with her mother was a little bit strained, but that's totally normal for teenagers to obviously clash with one.
Flame Sotomayor, you flaming queers are going to regret telling people in 20 years when the mainstream becomes anti-gay again. Oh, honey, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Like, do you know how popular Chapel Roan is right now? Do you know actually how popular in the mainstream queer people are? Very, very much, broadly. I went out, dude, okay. Let me put it to you like this. Even in my relatively small city, like it is not LA, it's not Seattle. It's not tiny, right? We have clubs, we have bars. I went out last night before, and had like visibly queer, makeup done up, cute outfit. Not trying to pass, just looking really cute, high femme, and so many people, all kinds of people hit on me. Like, the majority of people are completely fine with queer people. And odds are, when you get a couple drinks in them, they're more than a little fine. They're more than a little fine.
Honor both of their parents, okay? But she didn't clash with me at all. I mean, she and I just got along great and had a great relationship, okay? You know, when I was a teenager, I clashed with my parents. So did everyone. But
the fun part here is how he's just like, oh, there was literally nothing wrong between us. He has to try and portray his daughter turning against him as because she was corrupted. Again, throughout this interview, I really hate this video. It just makes me angry to see. But throughout, he completely disregards basically her own sentience. Like the fact that she might have ideas of her own. Like, he just treats her as like a toddler. She's almost a legal adult. She's a grown woman. Like, what are you talking about? Thank you very much, Angelo. Your coverage on all this has been great.
Okay? And any issue between her and my wife was just normal teenage stuff. There was nothing out of the ordinary at all. She goes out there and, you know, all of a sudden I see this picture of a guy that my brother had introduced her to and allowed her to go on a date with, okay? And the way that I saw this picture was because she was texting my daughter Rebecca saying like, oh, this guy, he's so cute, he's so hot, oh, I want to marry this guy, oh, get a bridesmaid's dress, blah, blah, blah. And the guy just looked so gross. He's just like this long-haired freak, okay? And so...
Sissy Siegel? So he's not this. He's just saying, or she's just saying, the guy invited me out. He wears eyeliner and matte black nail polish. Like, this isn't corroborating what he's saying, where they're like talking back and forth.
What are you doing?
That's the other thing. The way he twists the truth throughout, incredibly easy to find.
I was really mad. So when I saw this picture, when I contacted my brother, she was at this Christian camp. And so my brother's like, oh, no, I didn't know that the guy, I've never seen him looking this weird or whatever. Okay. But it's like, in what universe do you think that Pastor Anderson would allow his daughter to date a guy that just is looking like this long-haired weirdo, even if you didn't see him wearing makeup and all this other stuff? Okay. Obviously, it was just totally a breach of trust there. So I was really upset about that, but he was really apologetic, and and I just stupidly am just kind of believing what my brother's telling me. How it was a misunderstanding, it's an accident, this and that. Hey, when she gets back from the Christian camp, I'm going to talk to her. It's going to be great. I'll take care of it. I said,
oh yeah,
if you
long
take care
hair
of
is a big
If
thing.
you can't supervise, if you can't make sure that she never hangs around with guys like this, she needs to just come home. Oh no, I'll take care of it. So when the camp ends, basically he calls me back and says, oh, I sat down and talked to her. The conversation went great. She doesn't even like the guy. In fact, she sent those pictures to Rebecca just to show how weird the guy was. And I said, Clint, I'm looking at the text messages. That's not what it said.
Why'd I block Chris LaSala? I didn't. Maybe one of my mods did. I don't know. Did they?
And he just wouldn't believe me, and it kind of just blew my mind. I didn't really understand, but I was like, whatever. Then like the next day or so, we all of a sudden are contacted by CPS. And so obviously we were upset. We were worried. What in the world's going on? Some Christian camp in South Carolina had contacted CPS. So we called Miriam. What in the world's going on? Oh,
Hibernia
it
Scholar,
turns
thank
out
you
that,
for 6 months.
I just didn't like the food there because, I'm not used to eating janky camp food, and I didn't play the games because I didn't want to get sweaty. And then there was this camp counselor that was there that was just kind of stalking me because she knew who you were, and so she was just out to get me and telling me I wasn't saved and stuff and harassing me. So she must have called CPS. And I'm like, Miriam, that
again, all of this completely corroborates, like, he is accidentally confirming Miriam's story to be true in trying to exonerate himself, because this lines up with everything she said and how she was afraid of them coming down, and she was just telling them whatever she thought they wanted to hear.
doesn't make sense. Like, why
Thank
would
you,
they just call
Prince
CPS
Bagel.
over that? And she's like, I promise I didn't say anything negative to anybody. I wasn't talking crap about you guys.
Am I or am I not satanic? I don't think I'm satanic.
It was just this counselor was out. I'm like, okay, give us the counselor's name. Like, we got to call the camp. We got to complain. This is outrageous.
Oh, I have it sped up. He doesn't usually talk like this fast. Zach Fletcher, thank you for a $1.99. And I wanted to say your makeup is hella cute right now. Thank you.
But anyway, some time goes by, and ultimately, CPS comes out to our house, and CPS has been to our house many times, and they're always just super impressed by our family, and they're just telling us, wow, your kids are happy, healthy, it's obvious they love you, these allegations are stupid and ridiculous, and whatever. They always, when they talk to our kids, look at our kids,
it's giving,
they always,
this is giving the, you know how CPS talks. It's giving when Alex Jones talks about how he goes out in public and people just come up and shake his hand all the time, where it's like, I'm sure that's exactly how it went down.
are happy.
Apple Black,
impressed,
thank you
and
for,
they
holy
never found
crap,
any abuse 'cause
thank
there
you
is
for
no abuse.
subscribing.
And so what happened is when they came out, though, they gave us the details.
Love your channel
and
as
they
usual.
basically
Thank
told
you,
us
Sophie
that
Bliss,
the
and
specific
Raven Nova.
allegation was only about my wife, and that
And everyone
my daughter had
clapped,
said
exactly.
that, you know, she has a great relationship with her dad. Her dad's super cool, buys her stuff, takes her places, and that they're good buddies. But that just her mom
Slaytanic.
is abusive and
I
punched
like
her in the face or
that.
something.
It is
Which
a
obviously
slay.
stupid. My wife has never punched Miriam or any of these kids in the face. Okay, I've lived here. I've been married to my wife for the last 24 years. She didn't punch any kids in the face. That's ridiculous. But, you know, that was the accusation. So then I call up and I'm like, hey, you know, you lied to me because you clearly did tell somebody this, because why would they just make up this really specific allegation about, you know, mom supposedly punching you in the face? Because I said, you know what? I said, if they just hated my preaching and were trying to persecute me or something, why would they make it about my wife? They'd make it about me. The story's even. So then she admitted that, oh, well, I talked to this other camper and said this stuff and whatever. And that's what it was. And it was just like, she was getting caught in all these lies because she told one story back then, she's telling a different story now. She lied about that guy. So it was just kind of like a few things that stacked up, you know, over the course of a few weeks. And so I finally just said, that's it. You know, you're out of control. You know, Clint's obviously just letting you do whatever you want, hanging around with these weird guys. You're just, you know, it was just clear that she was not being held to any of our type of rules or any of our type of standards or accountability. And we don't have any strict, crazy rules or anything, but just normal Christian rules of obviously conservative Christians. Okay. And so what happened was I said, hey, you know, you're flying home. And I kept trying to get hold of my brother. He's just not answering the phone to me, just totally ghosting me. And so finally I text my brother and I say, look, I'm trying to buy a flight for Miriam here. I don't know what your schedule is. I don't know if you can take her to the airport because I'm trying to book this flight for 7 p.m. Can you get her to the airport, get her back here? And he just said, oh, well, if that's what you decide to do, yeah, I can get her there anytime. I said, okay, great. I'll go and book the flight. I spent $500
I'm
on
going
flight.
to write down
I sent him the flight info.
Slaytanic
He
because I
acknowledges it,
might
got
make
it.
a shirt
He
out of
didn't
that.
say
That's
anything
super
negative to
cute.
me. Finally, I got a hold of his wife because he's just like not answering the phone to me. I talked to his wife, Spring, for like 10 minutes. And I explained to Spring like how there's no way that these different stories can be true and that Miriam's clearly lying. And I said, Spring, am I missing something here? In what universe is Miriam telling the truth? Because she won't admit that she lied about this stuff.
Please
And
let
Spring's
Chris
like,
LaSala in.
totally,
He's
yeah.
really upset
You're
about
right.
being
I mean,
blocked. I
this is
guess, like,
contradictory because, you know,
if
she's
one of my
just,
mods wants to,
you know,
go for
lying
it.
to you. So I'm like, okay, whatever, you know. And she's like, well, but you know, we really want her to stay because we're having fun. We have all this stuff planned. And we're doing all this stuff. And I
Oh,
just said,
thank you
look,
so
I get
much,
it, but
Olivia
she
Williams, for
clearly needs to come home
$7.
because she's, you know, being disobedient and rebellious and whatever, lying to us and all these different things. So basically, you know, I just assume she's getting on the plane. I mean, I sent the flight info. They acknowledge it. There was like a delay of 10 minutes. I send them the text. They send me back the thumbs up.
Again,
Then hours after.
again, all of this, just if you haven't watched Miriam's interview, all of this corroborates. This lines up perfectly with everything else she said.
The flight left, I just get a text from my brother all of a sudden now saying, oh, I'm not sending her home, and you know, your wife's abusive, you're abusive, the home's abusive, all this crazy allegations that my brother's never brought up to me before, ever.
Thank you so
Never
much,
said-
Maxis Animates. Nobody said that you punched your children, Stephen. Miriam said Stephen was beating her and her siblings. Yeah, he did a video a couple days ago, and I think I looked at it on stream, talking about how, oh, I never punched, you know, my wife. And his proof that John said that was literally a clip of him saying that he hit his wife. Not punched, hit. So it's just, come on. Dominator, thank you for $5. Hi, Dead Dominator. I hardly ever get to catch your live streams. Makeup looks great. Hope everything works out with the move. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
anything like this to me before, and just all of a sudden he just starts coming at me with this bizarre narrative. And obviously I was super upset about this.
Thank
I don't
you
know what
so
to do
much,
because I'm trying to deal
C-Beans.
with, you know,
Honestly, I
CPS
just
coming at me,
appreciate
and
the
he's threatening
support.
me with more CPS and all this different stuff. And so finally, ultimately, you know, some time went by because I'm just trying to figure out how to do anything. I was just trying to get through like the first CPS investigation that Miriam had triggered. We got through all that, case dismissed, everything's cool, whatever. And at this point, like, we're getting to the point where we're like on a first name basis with CPS because just so many haters and so many people have accused us of things and are just constantly using CPS as this weapon against us. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. But basically what happened is, you know, I finally just called the sheriff's department of the county.
No, like literally, Brutus Magnuson, I didn't punch her, I backhanded her. Very different. No, straight up. Like, because here's the thing is that he'll talk about how a big portion of the apologetics around this have been moving the goalposts from, oh, I don't hit anybody, but even if I did, it would only be biblical. Like, I would just do biblical beating with like a rod, right? And that's okay because I'm a pastor. It's just unhinged shit. But yeah, I know he's literally doing I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Greenville said, look, what do I do? How do you
Alexander
want me to
the Great,
handle this?
you and me.
You know, do I just come out there? If I get out there, you know, are you guys going to back me up? I mean, my brother has poisoned the mind of my daughter, and he's refusing to send her home. She's just a teenager, and she's young and impressionable, and he's putting all this weird ideas in her head and backing her up and validating her teenage rebellion or whatever. And I said, you know, what do I do here? And they said, oh, yeah, you have every right to bring your daughter home, and you have absolute power in this situation, and he has no right. We'll go by there and tell him that right now. I said, great, go by and tell him. Maybe that'll wake him up. They go by and tell him. He doesn't care. Instead, he sends me texts threatening me.
Okay.
If I don't.
So, this is the point that Steve thinks that he's like has something here, where his brother is saying, you sent the police mouse. I'm going to call you now and lay out what your options are. You need to be civil on this call and speak respectfully, or the call will end. Again, let's corroborate. The reason I've done all this setup so far, corroborate that with the pastor we just listened to talking about how Stephen like just blows up on the phone at people, which is perfectly in line with everything we've heard from his kids, where he can just change and get angry and violent at the drop of a hat. This is his brother who knows this, saying, hey, if you do this, I'll hang up. These pieces of information all fall into a line. Miriam doesn't feel safe going home. These are your options. Withdraw your complaint from the Greenville County Sheriff and allow her to stay here with us indefinitely with your consent, or Miriam is going to be forced to report you to CPS and tell them about the abuse. If you try to retaliate against me further, I'll take the nuclear option and go on YouTube.
Just agree to let my daughter just stay with him indefinitely with my consent, then he's going to go to CPS or have her go to CPS and, you know, cause more problems.
Now, his response as a pastor, again, was to send a middle finger. And these are the texts he chose as his defense. These are the things he thinks makes him look good. Like, what are you doing? Send her home on a plane tomorrow, or the sheriff will make you do it. Those are your options. Nobody wants to go the CPS route. We would still prefer to resolve this civilly with you. She doesn't feel safe going home. All you have to do is withdraw your complaint and let her stay out here so she can live in peace. If you just let it be, she'll turn 18, move back to Arizona, everything is fine. But by involving law enforcement and forcing her to go home, you're forcing her hand to go to CPS so she doesn't have to go home. I made a vow to support her, so that's what I'm going to do. My goodness, thank you so much, Olivia Williams, for $14. Reminds me of a guy interview we had in Quebec who turned into a meme. I didn't touch my daughter. I never touched my daughter except once at a cabin. Ugh. No. Ah.
Okay. And here's the funny thing about this. Just stop and think about the logic of this, okay? If these people really believed that we're these horrible, abusive people, then why wouldn't they just call CPS? Why would they threaten to call CPS? I mean, if they really believe this narrative, and if they think that calling CPS is warranted, then why wouldn't they just call CPS? But no, that's not what they do. They threaten to call. And here's the thing. And if we're not...
Because they wanted it to be amicable. Like, they clearly explained it. They wanted it to be done civilly. Just let her stay. We don't need to get everybody involved. Which I agree is a little bit shitty. But, like, you get one kid out of there to lead a happy, healthy life, not go back to an abusive household. That's a dub. Like, the question... a better question to ask would be, Steve, if... as you say, Miriam, and again, she's not there, but if Miriam is being held against, as in Stephen's words, against her will, she's essentially been taken hostage like he's been telling his followers, why would you not be allowing the police to go in there? Why would you try to turn this into some kind of vigilante action where you tell your followers to go and stake out the area? Why not go to the police? Again, you already did once. Why not keep doing that? If she's there, no real answer for that.
Abusive, then why would you threaten to call? So if we are abusive, why wouldn't you just call? And if we're not abusive, then why are you threatening to call? Because they're just using CPS as a weapon. And then he's also blackmailing me by saying, you know, I'm going to expose you on YouTube. I'm going to expose you to the internet if you don't just let me have your firstborn daughter. You know, this 49-year-old dude is...
Also, another weird thing he does, so he keeps making things oddly sexual in a way I don't understand why. He keeps bringing up the fact that her uncle is 45 or 47 or whatever, and she's 17, as if it is a, like, concern. Which tells me so much about his thought process. Like, it's the way he says it is so fucking gross.
Demanding to just keep my 17-year-old beautiful daughter, okay? Super weird. These are the text messages.
What the fuck are you talking about the King of Macedonia for?
So finally,
what?
I get on a plane. I go out there. I go to my brother's house, and I said, give me my daughter, or tell me where she is, or I'm calling 911 right now. And he's just like, call 911. You know, he didn't even open the door for me. He's just hiding behind the door with all his musclehead kids protecting him. And basically, I waited for the police to get there. The police show up. It takes like an hour and a half for the police to figure out what's going on and to realize that I'm telling the truth and that Clint's full of crap. And so finally...
Samuel Bright calling making a YouTube video the nuclear option is pretty damn funny. You'd think so, but my videos have had actual fallout, so it's kind of accurate.
They come to me and tell me, okay, we found out where your daughter is. We don't want him to know that we're telling you because we don't want him to tip her off. But here's where she works. It's this Starbucks and a Target. It's like 40 minutes away or something. So
again, all of this perfectly lines up with Miriam's story. Nothing he has said has absolved him. And this is supposed to be like his big I'm innocent speech.
Another jurisdiction, so you have to have that sheriff's deputy meet you out there.
Oh yeah, no,
great. I got to start.
I didn't notice how thick his neck vein is until
she's not there. But then the manager takes the sheriff's
and now I
deputy aside
can't
and says,
not see it.
oh, you know,
thanks
we got her in this room
whoever brought that up.
So the sheriff's deputy goes in there and talks to her for like an hour and a half. He keeps coming out and giving me updates, and I'm just like, dude, this is my daughter. Like, you know, she can't. My brother can't have her. You know what I mean? It's like, this is my daughter. Anyway, long story short, she ends up calling her brother John, and he's an EMT. So he tells her, oh, just fake a panic attack and say you can't breathe, and then they'll have to take you to the hospital. So that's what she does. She gets taken to the hospital. Then the hospital just won't let me see her. They just have me locked out in the waiting room. So I'm there for like 4.
Again, they won't let him see her because she specifically requested that. I don't know where he got that John told her to have a panic attack. That wasn't in her testimony to me. That wasn't in the interview. What was is that she had a panic attack. Like, panic attacks are not super easy to fake, because like if you call an ambulance and you're like, oh yeah, I'm having a panic attack, and they check your vitals and they check you, they'll be like, okay, you're not like sweating, you don't have cold sweat, you're not shivering, your temperature is fine, you're not like passing into and out of consciousness, like you're not having a panic attack, you're fine. In which case they wouldn't keep her in a hospital for hours. You moron.
4 hours at the hospital demanding to see my daughter. I'm saying there's nothing wrong with her. I don't consent to this.
Oh yeah, if you want to, My Solid Demigod, yeah, like DM it on Twitter or Insta would be perfect. Like those are the two things I use most. But thank you so much. I love that.
I don't consent to treatment. Finally, after 4 hours, they bring me back, and I thought they were bringing me back to see.
As somebody who has had panic attacks that literally I've had to be hospitalized for, like, I mean, I'm sure ER people deal with it all the time, because if you've never had panic attacks, it legitimately feels like you're dying. Like it is a overwhelming sensation of doom, and just like your body, it's basically, imagine getting so stressed out that your body, if you think of your body as like an on-off switch or like a light switch, that somebody just goes like just up and down real quick. Like shit is starting, shit is stopping. It's like a short circuit. It's horrifying to deal with, and it's not something that you can just like fake. Like it's wild to me. Simric, thank you for $5. Have you considered making your channel just an investigative journalism channel? I have, but I don't. It wouldn't make enough for me to live on. Is unfortunately the answer why I don't do that. I'm currently in the middle of doing another big piece of investigative journalism, but like maybe one day, like if I start pulling in the like H bomber guy numbers and I can tackle like 1 or 2 big things a year, I would love to. Oh my god, I would love to do that. But yeah, it's not in the cards right now, unfortunately. I've had to, like, I've gained 100,000 followers in a year. It's been a hustle. Like, let me fucking tell you, it's been a hustle. All right, I'm gonna go let my dog out real quick from pupper prison.
Miriam. And then that's when they tell me, oh, you know, she actually just ran away and escaped the hospital. But don't worry, because her aunt and uncle were here with her, you know, and I'm just like, what in the world? So I'm out in the lobby, and I'm sitting here saying I'm her dad. I got the birth certificate. Like, this is my kid. Let me see her. But then apparently she lied to them, and he went along with it, that he's her legal guardian. And they said, well, we were told that was her legal guardian. And so, you know, her uncle was here with her. And so we were told that the uncle was the guardian. And I'm just like, what in the world? So then, of course, they said, we called the police. And so the hospital are the ones who created that police report number that I gave at the beginning of the video, and said, hey, this is now a thing where she's in a runaway database now that she ran away from the hospital. And if anybody, you know, pulls her over for anything or whatever, she'll immediately be taken into custody because she's officially a runaway and whatever. And so, like, even after the sheriff's been at my brother's house twice, he is still just subverting me and stopping me from getting my daughter back. He's just still just stealing my daughter and just trying to keep her. I mean, to the point where he's going to the hospital and posing as her legal guardian. Okay. And then we go to his house in the middle of the night with the cops again after the long time at the hospital. We show up again, 11:30 at night or whatever. And my brother comes out on the porch and he's all shifty and has all this real weird.
Now, first off, very funny to have him talk about somebody being shifty and having awkward energy. 2, if you think, like, I am not a parent, right? But I know I have parents in my audience. If you thought your daughter was being held hostage, and as Steven is claiming, or at least alluding to, possibly something improper might be going on between your family and your daughter, I ask you, what would you stop at to get her back? Right? What I think most parents would say, oh, there's not a limit to what I do to get them back. Yet, what is he doing? He is telling his church members to go and harass them personally. He is essentially bullying and doxing. Kind of doesn't seem like the thing you would do if you were actually genuinely concerned, Stephen. I don't know. That's just me.
Awkward body language and stuff, like he's lying, and the cops are like, we don't know if he's lying, but we don't know, we can't enter his house, and so and they just they didn't have anything for me, they couldn't help me. The next day I go to the sheriff's office again, I go to the courthouse, and some cop tells me, have you tried a 9mm? And I'm just thinking to myself, what so I can get arrested? Like, it's funny how these cops are just telling me to just drag her out of there kicking and screaming and just, use a 9mm and all this stuff to basically, show your brother what's up. If I did that, they would arrest. They're like Satan or something, where they tell you to do something, they provoke you to do something, and then they're the ones that are going to turn around and accuse you when you do it. Like, I'm sure that's really going to go over real well, right? But anyway, so I finally just got frustrated with the police. I got frustrated with the courts and everything, because they were just, they're telling me I'm right every single time. They tell me I'm right.
Oh, thank you very much, Preacher Boys. Thank you for $4.99. Your work covering this whole saga has been absolutely incredible. Major props. Same to you. I really appreciated the interview you did with John.
Every single time they tell my brother he's wrong, but then they're just ineffective. Like, they don't do anything. So finally, I just end up just going home, and that's where we're at, my friend. And so my daughter has been stolen from me. I don't know for sure where she is, but based on all the different little hints I've heard here and there, and all the pieces of evidence and all the rumors that are floating around, I believe that she is at Clint Anderson's house. Again, that's 204 Amber Oaks Drive. And the reason I'm giving that address is because that's where she was last seen. Okay. And, if anybody can go by there and maybe watch the place and see, or at least just if they're new.
Again, like he is literally telling people to go watch and harass his family over this. Not abusive behavior at all. That's definitely not something an abuser would do, Stephen.
Near that area, just drive by and see if they see her coming or going or something. Because, I don't know where she is. Okay. And what's funny is that people were criticizing me, saying, well, she's 17. She should be at home. You're not ruling your house well. Well, how am I supposed to have any power or rule over a 17-year-old when her uncle has sat her down, poisoned her mind, her brothers have poisoned her mind, and just validated her desire?
Again, it's all about her basically having no internal processes, is the way he makes it sound. Like, her mind's just been poisoned. That's why. Like, anytime something speaks out against him, it can't be a mistake on his part. Again, this goes back to what the other preacher was saying, is that he has said how he never takes accountability. Well, essentially, how he never takes anything back. He is pathologically unable to admit that he may have done something wrong. Like, straight up. That's what we're looking at here.
To just go do whatever she wants, and he's just whining and dining her the whole time she's there, letting her stay out as late as she wants and date whatever skeety guy she wants. Of course, she doesn't want to go home from her endless vacation over with my wonderful brother and whatever. And so the bottom line is that it's not his daughter. He is wicked. He is evil. And I'm going to make a whole nother video just talking about what kind of person he is. Okay. But look, again, please.
I should. Oh, God. Okay, so I am going to watch a little bit of, I think they have on this channel the other video. Nope, they don't. So I guess I won't watch it. But that other video where Stephen talks about Clive, I think you can go find it on Rumble. But some of his, now you might ask yourself, okay, why is his brother so wicked and evil, as Stephen says? One of the things, like the reasons that he lists, one of the things that makes his brother wicked and evil to Stephen is that he was unable to have kids without IVF, like decades ago. And for that reason, as Stephen says, he has killed like 90 babies because of IVF, which is not how anything works. Like, just what? That video is actually really funny because he goes on a tangent about how his brother is just jealous of him. It really, it's pathetic. Like, it's there's no other way to describe it. It's pathetic. how his brother essentially wanted to steal his daughter because he was never able to have a daughter. Like, it's deeply pathetic personal attacks that, like, don't actually, Stephen, they don't provide proof to what you're saying. Like, they don't actually back anything up except for the fact that you are petty, petulant, and a small man. What now? Thank you for $10. Thank you for using your platform to stand up for what's right. Sending you love and strength from a fellow non-binary human. I appreciate it. I try. I do my best. Don't lie, Domain. It's true. IVF causes mass homicide. Yes, this is true. So, this is from Miriam today. I do want to read this through. I have not read it yet, so this is my first. Yes, Liz F. Miriam does have a GoFundMe. I asked her, just because I know how generous and kind and caring my audience is, before the video went up, I asked her, like, hey, is there a way, like, is there anything you want to, like, put up if people want to give you something? And she was concerned with doing that because she was like, I don't really want to because I don't want people to think that's why I'm doing it. And so we kind of, like, we decided to, like, not do that. And so many people ended up overwhelmingly asking for it that Miriam did not start her GoFundMe, by the way. It was somebody else, a former member of her church, that started it. And it is a real one. And it is linked currently in the video description for the interview with Miriam, if you do want to go give to her. Carry on. Thank you for $5. Policy work. Wonk. Respect the grind. A goddamn artist with makeup. Can you stop being so perfect? Sending all the positive vibes to you. I haven't even talked, like, I haven't even, like, sung or done any of my other stage stuff I do. Alyssa B, thank you for $10. Is what he's doing not a reportable offense? It is. No, it is. Yeah, feel free. Literal doxing and encouraging people to take action. Listening to Miriam was so difficult, and my heart goes out to her. Yeah, it was a rough one. It's one of the roughest interviews I've had to do, for sure. Which, like, I don't have a lot of easy interviews, so that's it's a contentious category. So, Miriam Anderson, recently, this is today, she wrote this on Facebook. Recently, my mom and dad have made public statements regarding my character and behavior while living in South Carolina with my aunt and uncle. Firstly, I met my boyfriend at the opening service of the new church plant in South Carolina. We immediately hit it off, and I got my dad's permission to get coffee with him the following morning before going soul winning together. If it wasn't this church, that would be kind of cute. He talked to my dad multiple times as he had been listening to my dad's sermons for years. Not only this, he specifically sought out my dad's permission to date me. In the following weeks, as tensions with my family were growing, he came to visit me multiple times. He lived out of state, so he would visit over the weekend and spend time with me and my family and attend church with us on Sundays. During our relationship, my uncle supervised us and enforced a curfew. I talked to both my mom and dad about dating him, and they both approved of him wholeheartedly. I also sought counsel from my aunt, uncle, and our pastor. Everyone who met him immediately liked and respected him for the godly young man that he is. They ruined our relationship as he can no longer see me because I'm not living in South Carolina anymore. It's quite disappointing to see my dad try to pretend this is about some guy that I was not dating. So she is saying that the dude, her dad made it out to be like she was dating, which is what she told me. Because I asked her about that interview with her dad, and she was like, I wasn't even, like, I didn't date that guy. Furthermore, I'd like to address the claims made about my aunt and uncle. My uncle did not steal me. I came to my uncle desperate for help, and he and his family offered me refuge. In my months of living at their house, I gained nothing but respect for both my aunt and uncle. They time and time again proved their wisdom and godliness, and I will forever be grateful to the love they showed me. My uncle also complied with police and immediately told them where I was. Neither he nor my aunt were in my hospital room. I left the hospital completely on my own and did not involve anyone from my family. I was not advised by my brother John either. See, those are the things I was just talking about. Like, I think those are things that Stephen is trying to fill in the blanks on and doesn't, like, know what actually happened. But again, another thing Stephen continues to do is talk about how, all their stories, every time they say it, it's something's changed, something's different. This is not the case, as we're about to see. Sorry, I know it's been 2 hours. We're about to get to the sermon. But yeah. Give me 1 second. It's sad to think that my parents knew I was safe, doing well, and dating a godly Christian man and ruined that. God bless everyone who stood for the truth despite all their bullying. The situation has been difficult for everyone involved, but God has protected me and kept me, and I feel peace knowing I'm in his hands. Please continue praying for my family as we need it more than ever. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone has a blessed day. Below is a picture of me and my boyfriend after church a few weeks after I supposedly rebelled. Like, I mean, come on. Like, I might have my personal issues with the kind of church dating thing and the, of course I do, whatever. But if you're going to look at these kids right here, and like this kid is wearing a suit to church, and you're going to be like, yeah, no, they're evil and rebellious. She's being poisoned by the world. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, what? Yeah, no, they're cute. They look like, they look like a cute teenage couple. I don't, as other people, hey dog, can you not right now? You are being such a booger right now. Yes, you are. I'm doing a work. I love you. Yes, I do. I love you so much. Okay. They're just standing there menacingly. Cishet's my god. It is like, as somebody who got married very young, can't recommend it. Like, I cannot recommend just jumping out into the world, especially not as her parents did, which, they are in the kind of church that says like, oh no, you don't get to divorce. Like, you have to work out whatever issues you have. You're stuck with that person for the rest of your life, which is just not a happy way. Like, on a personal level, it's not a way to like live life. Okay. You want? All right. Let's get you treat, a little booger monster. And yeah, and like, that's just a, like, say whatever you want about people getting married young. Just like your brain's not fully formed, right? Like, it's just not. Like, it does no harm to wait to leash yourself to somebody. Like, if that's what people want to do with their life, I can't find fault with that. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But like, I think a lot of youth need to err more on the side of caution, that's everything when you're young. Clip Clap, thank you for $2. Let Chris Lasala cast out your sodomite demons. Please, yes, cast out my sodomite demons. Please, Daddy. Cast me out harder. Assume that the abuser here has shown no actual concern for his daughter's safety and seems more concerned with the fact that she's not in his possession at the moment. Funny you would say that. Yes! And when you go into the comment section of any of his posts, they're all talking about like, oh, poor Pastor Anderson. None of his followers have been asking about like, oh gosh, Miriam, I hope she's safe. Steven hasn't, like, his video about, oh, my daughter's been stolen from me. Listen to the way he talks about his daughter. In terms of saying, like, she's, she belongs to me. Like, she's been stolen from me. She's being held against my will. Not as a concerned parent would, where, like, please, return my daughter. I'm worried about her safety. Her mother is worried, sick. Like, we don't know what's going on. There are 1,000 things that could show genuine concern. And he says none of them. He doesn't come close to saying any of them. All right. Let's go to... Here we go. I hope everybody is ready. I hope you all packed. As you can see, we're finally here at the big event. today, Steven Anderson preached about me by name, both the channel name and real name. And I want to go through and react to this, kind of pick apart some of the things he says. But I need to give a heavy slur and content warning because he is pissed, which is not the smart tactic to take. Again, every action he kind of takes just makes him look worse, if not outright proving the allegations against him. Like, him going on an angry, unhinged tirade is probably not the best way to prove that you didn't abuse your kid, Steven. I'm just saying. I don't know.
All right, at this time we'll go through our announcements together. As you can see by the packed house this morning, reports of our demise have been greatly exaggerated. Our service time Sunday mornings at 10:30.
Father, Lord, thank you for today, Lord. Thank you for allowing us to be in church. Lord, I pray you just fill Pastor Anderson with your spirit and help this sermon to be edifying to us
thank
all.
you for
In Jesus'
becoming a
name I pray.
member.
Amen.
Man, the title of my sermon this morning is My Answer to Them Who Examine Me. My answer to them who examine me. This is a quote from the Apostle Paul in the book of 1 Corinthians, because in both 1 and 2 Corinthians, there are people that are hurling.
Weird. It's can I file a lawsuit against Steven Anderson in small claims court? I don't know what I would, like, over what. Like, the most I would be able to do is defamation, and it's like, that's not, like, he's not, not yet. I'm willing to bet he would at some point try and talk about, like, me being, like, say something actually defamatory. He has not said anything that is defamatory yet. Just things that are very rude, like very socially rude, but like nothing that isn't, at least according to his interpretation, nothing that isn't accurate. As far as I know, unless I've missed something. It is kind of in a strip mall, I think.
The Apostle Paul, and so especially in 2 Corinthians, he spends a lot of time defending himself about the things that he's being accused of. And 1 Corinthians 9:3 says, mine answer to them that do examine me is this, and I'm going to give you my answer today to those who examine me. I have 7 different points that I want to give you this morning. If you would start by turning to 1 Samuel chapter 28. Point number 1, my accusers teamed up with a literal Satan-worshiping transvestite. Okay, and you know what? We could pretty much almost just close our Bibles and go home.
That's me. That's me. He's talking about me, guys. That's me. Oh my gosh. Stephen, hi, hello. So wonderful to know you're a fan. I cannot mention enough how much of his argument hinges on the idea that because his kids came to me for a platform, when, you know, they're in an abusive home, in a congregation that excuses the abuse and even supports it, as remember the mommy blogger we watched earlier. And nobody apparently in his congregation stops to think of like, well, actually, yeah, I guess they kind of had to. Like, nobody stops to think of the idea that, you know, in their terms, can God use, if I truly am satanic, can God not use agents of evil like me to do something good? No, it is so far beyond the pale. And it's funny to watch him drive this dividing line about how evil I am, but how his kids are like, they're still good and they can still come back from this, but they're also trying to take me down. Because it's a lot like the other day where Pastor Shelley was talking about how the kids are being manipulated. It's like, I haven't manipulated anybody. You can go watch the interviews. I just mentioned this in the Dinesh D'Souza video. That the thing that pissed me off about that movie is that all the interviews, Dinesh is asking leading questions the entire time. And go watch the interviews I do. The questions I ask are open-ended. It is to allow them a platform to tell their story, to get their interpretation of events. Like, it's just self-evidently false. As he wants to talk about other people being manipulative, though, he's telling his family, which, by the way, here's a little inside tea, right? The video he did doxing his brother that we just looked at, that was a threat. If that was told to me, I won't say by who, but in back channels, Stephen was telling and threatening his family if the Miriam interview came out, he would do the dox. Miriam interview came out. He came forward with the dox. I knew about it before it hit. The video where he talks about his brother and gives out his address. I knew about that before it came live. And it makes you wonder, if this is such a serious issue, Stephen, why then, again, knowing that in private, but publicly, why do you only talk about it after the interview came out? Again, you have to wonder, if my daughter, if your daughter, if someone's child of any age was taken, essentially the way he portrays it, abducted, would you wait multiple weeks to speak out about it publicly? If you thought your kid was possibly being harmed or held against their will, would you keep that silent? But you'll see a trend here. Again, this is all about noticing the patterns in someone's behavior. He doesn't address something until it comes to light, until it might make him look bad. Because when all this stuff was still going on with Miriam, instead of addressing it publicly, he was too busy holding church services justifying corporal punishment, because that was the thing people were asking him about with John. And now that people are going to ask about Miriam and it makes him look bad, then he has to address it. He has to figure out a way to spin it. So let's keep watching the spin doctor at work here.
Right now, okay? Because anybody with a brain in their head knows that you don't go to Satan to tell the truth. You go to Satan because you want to tell lies, okay? Now look, this channel that has put out these videos, it literally, as its background, has a lamb on it with a Satan symbol on the lamb's forehead, a pentagram in the lamb's forehead. The guy is in drag. He is a man dressed up as a woman. The video that all these Christians are promoting this week and sending around all over the internet, literally you click on it, the first thing you're going to see is a man in makeup in a flowery dress with a Satan symbol. Oh, you guys need to see this and whatever. Well, they had to go to... And they keep calling him Jordan.
Okay. Again, like, his strongest argument against these allegations are that they came from my channel. That's it. Like, not the allegations themselves. He barely, in this sermon, he barely talks about what was actually said. Barely. Like, he doesn't talk about at all. I would actually like to see him address this. He doesn't at all talk about the thing with the bar stools, where I found videos of bar stools that had been like clearly destroyed and like taped and glued back together. Or I found a picture, not a video. Like, yeah, well, also, why are you so scared of a little cartoon goat? Lamb Chop's just a little baby. Lamb Chop never hurt nobody. Is Sodomite a Vegemite substitute? Maxis Animates, thank you for $2. Ophelia, thank you for $5 Canadian. Well, he's reading from Paul again. What a surprise. Man loves Paul more than he loves Jesus. Many such cases. Many such cases in the Baptist movement.
I'm like, Jordan is a river in Israel. Don't humanize this freak, this pervert, this animal.
That might be slightly defamatory. Calling me, well, no, because I'd have to prove that I'm not a pervert, which would be hard to do. The Pup, thank you for $7. All hail DD's YouTube. Resonant satanic transvestite reprobate. Keep fighting the good fight, honey. You too. Thank you so much, Pup. Lizifer, thank you for subscribing.
He said, well, you know, they had to go to this tranny or whatever. You know what? You don't think I have just boku enemies that would just love to have guests on to talk crap about me? But isn't it interesting that all three of them, they all went to a transvestite, open faggot,
Thank you, fiery
reprobate.
one.
And you know why? Because God...
That scared me. He's scared because it has a pentagram. What a dope. Oh no, he's like legit terrified. He'll talk about how he won't watch like a second of my video. Very funny. Like this, oh, he's such a strong, upstanding man of God, Steven Anderson is, but can't handle little old me. Which apparently, again, this is, it's just a fascinating like look into their ideology where they're like, okay, no, I, according to them, reprobate, faggot, effeminate, slurs. But then they're also afraid of watching me. Like they literally, his excuse, which is really, that's what it is. It is an excuse that he is giving his congregation not to pay attention to victims, not to pay attention to his kids. Stephen, if you are really not guilty, if your kids' stories were really, as you like to portray, so incongruous, so misaligned and all just lies, you would have no problem. Just go, watch the sodomite interviews. Go see how ridiculous they are. Instead, he won't. He refuses to. Because he knows he can't. All of their stories line up. You dork. You sad little manlet.
God is showing people who's telling the truth and who's lying. That's why. You say, well, it's a he said, she said thing. Yep, you know what? And anybody who actually loves the Lord and loves the truth can easily figure out the truth because God...
And again, like here is how he's delineating everything in a perfect level of black and white. It is... If you watch these interviews, you hate the Lord. And of course, his congregation is like, well, I don't want to hate the Lord. Like, that sounds bad. It is the exact same again. He is confirming through his actions the same things his kids have said. The exact same thing where all of his kids talked about how he would rule through fear and talk about how God's going to punish you, God's going to kill you. It's the same thing he's doing right here for his congregation.
God in his providence worked it out where my enemies were too stupid to actually attack me in a way that could even be seen as legitimate, but they all went straight to literal Satan so that everybody who actually cares about the truth and what the Bible says will know that they're lying because Satan is the...
I'm literal Satan, you guys. Gosh, I didn't know that. Literal Satan. Oh God, if this was a video script, I'd have a really good joke about something like Twitter. I don't know.
The father of lies. Look at 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 6. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets.
Promotion.
Oh, I called the preachers in the new IFB, and they won't answer me. That's because you're full of crap, that's why. God's not helping me. The pastors aren't helping me. They're not helping you because you're a liar. That's why you had to go to the witch at Endor. The Bible says in verse 7, then said Saul unto his servants, seek me a dude in drag. Seek me a woman that has a familiar spirit. Another word for a familiar spirit is a demon. Seek me a woman that has this familiar spirit, that I may go to her, it, them, that I may inquire of them, it, they, she.
See, we love... Oh my gosh, Stephen, we stand an ally. Thank you for using my correct pronouns. I appreciate it so much.
Whatever the pronouns are, and inquire of her. And his servant said to him, behold, there's a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor, also known as Dead Domain.
That's me.
Now, if you would flip over to...
That's me again. See, again, like accidental gender affirmation. Stephen, you're so sweet. Stop it, you.
1 Chronicles chapter number 10, verse 13. 1 Chronicles chapter 10, verse 13. Well, I'm not there to watch the tranny. Yeah, and I bet you buy Playboy magazine, but you're not there for the pictures. You're just there for the articles, right?
Again, very weird thing he does where he kind of twists everything to be sexual. Like, very weird thing that I'm again, just noticing. You could call me a noticer of sorts. Do not call me that. That has connotations. But just something to think about.
You just read the articles, right? I'm not there for the train. Let me tell you something. I don't care if my worst enemy were being exposed on some transvestite channel. I would never share some transvestite video in a million years. You say, well, this other pastor, you know, he uploaded a video of him interviewing a transvestite. Well, you know, I didn't watch that crap and I never will.
I don't know who that refers to. I think that's an inside thing. Zoe Confused Trans, thank you for 444 bits. Inclusive pronouns, wasn't expecting that. You and me both. The Alpha Ginger, thank you for $5. I'm not using my soul. Can we make a Faustian bargain later? Want to get a PS5 Pro? Just get a PS5. Just get a regular ass PS5. Come on. It's not, you're not going to be, like, you're not going to see the difference in ray tracing. You're not. You're just not. You know it's true. Search your feelings. Echo Garot, thank you for $4.99. They say a person is defined by their enemies. Looking pretty good, I think. You know, if my enemies are this ding dong and like internet Nazis, I can live with that. I can live with that.
Hell! I don't look at transvestites. Look at 1 Chronicles chapter 10, verse 13. And but you say, I don't know, man. You know, I don't. Maybe you're a first-time visitor or something, and you just walked in. You know what? Hey, all these doors open outward, and half of them have push bars now. So feel free to get up and leave anytime. We're doing fine here. Look at 1 Chronicles chapter 10, verse 13. So Saul died for his transgression which he committed against the Lord, even against the word of the Lord which he kept not. And also, why did he die? Why did Saul die? Also for asking counsel of one that had a familiar spirit to inquire of it. I mean, Saul going to the witch at Endor is like, that's it, you're done. You're dead. That's what God says in the Word of God.
That's what God says.
No one on the side of truth is using a satanic broadcast to get their message out. I mean, why do I even have to say this? But you know what? People are so stupid that they don't understand this. And you know what? If you're too...
You know, it's actually really funny. I was just thinking about this because when he said satanic broadcast, it made me think of like number stations. When I first started the channel, and I've talked about this before, but you can go back to the first like gaming videos I did, especially the shooter series. I had plans for a kind of overarching background narrative. That's where the kind of demon iconography came from. And it's actually a part of the movie I'm writing. But just the idea, I've always been fascinated by the idea of I've always loved horror, like Evil Dead, Exorcist, stuff like that. But I've always been fascinated by the idea of like demonic or otherworldly possession of machines or technology. And so I was attempting to kind of patch that kind of narrative between all of my early videos, and just nobody gave a fuck. Nobody noticed, so I threw it away. Like I just stopped doing it. But that's a large part of where the kind of vapor wavy demonic aesthetic originated from. And so it's just very funny that like if I had no inkling, no idea that like 3 or 4 years ago when I started my channel, I would have the biggest hate preacher in America like calling me out. Just very funny. Just very funny. V Sophia, thank you for $1.99. Criminal, thank you for $4.99. Came in late, but I'm obsessed with your makeup. Thank you. Love the lip. Compliments your face along with the eyeshadow. Your smile profile is stunning. Stop it. Thank you. Yeah, Shimigami Tensei shit. Exactly.
If at this point in the sermon, you're already too stupid to figure out.
Oh, R slur warning in like 3, 2, 1. Like right about to happen. Again, just not what you'd think a proper preacher would sound like. Like a real forgiving, loving man of God. That's what he's trying to, like, he's trying to exonerate himself from suspicion. This is the, like, think about the language he's using here.
Who's telling the truth? Please get up and just leave right now. Just get out of your seat. The piano will begin to play. Would you come and get out of here? Because you know what? I'm not here to babysit retards. Okay? It's a literal Satan channel. You know what? It's funny. On this same satanic channel, I went to the channel. I looked at what the most popular video is. You want to know what the most popular video is? It's this thing infiltrating a good Bible-believing Baptist church up in Spokane, Washington, and filming people, I guess, without... Now, here's the... I haven't seen 5 seconds of it, and I never will. But what's funny is that when this thing came out, everybody's sending...
It's because you're a pussy, Steven. Eric Umanita, thank you for $2. Steve here is truly something else. Yeah, he's on one. I wasn't joking. Like, I've watched a lot of these churches' sermons. This one is... I've never really seen someone on a tear like this. Media Breakdown, $4.99. Ever play Binding of Isaac? I have. I started playing it because somebody I was seeing really liked it, and I put it down. I really liked it. I didn't beat it, but I got through, to the ending a couple of times. Don't sell yourself short. You're mega Satan.
Me links and say, oh, you gotta watch, you gotta see this, you gotta watch this, you gotta see this. Like, I mean, even,
Well, somebody's saying, like, he exposed himself because I never filmed anything. I didn't film anything. I did record. I think that's what he meant, because he hasn't, again, actually seen the video to his testimony. It's just because he's, like, he's not real like that. Like, I'm sorry, Steven's just not, he's not about that life.
People are sending me these links, and I'm just like, why would I watch this? I'm like, if these people are being filmed without knowing it, this guy's going into a Baptist church, filming his conversations with people. I don't want people filming me and recording me and uploading my private conversations. So
I bet, Steven, I bet you really, 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 really don't want people recording your private conversations. Like a couple of days ago, when Jonathan Shelley said that he had a conversation with you where you basically confirmed all of the abuse allegations. Like, I bet you don't want any of your private stuff to come forward. That would be real bad for you. Especially right now, with all the scurrying you're probably doing behind the scenes with your little sycophants.
Why would I watch someone else, do that? Why would I watch some documentary that's just about mocking or exposing the people who are just going to church, a Bible-believing church? I don't watch that junk.
Amen. Amen.
And I'm sure some of you have watched it, but you know what? I don't know why. I don't really understand why. And maybe you need to think about things like that in the future, that, why would you do that? The Bible says in Ephesians 5:11, have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them, for it is a shame even...
Sweet Afton, isn't Hate Church in Spokane open to all visitors on Francis? No? Yeah, it is. It is. They have, I don't know if they do it anymore, but when I was going there, they had a sign out front that was church today. Hey, come on in. Like, they really, yeah. That's why.
Speak of those things which are done.
I explained it in the video, but that is why I was able to record there legally, because there is not the Washington is a two-party consent state for private conversations, but the fine print there is that if there is not a reasonable expectation of privacy, then you can basically record. So like a public gathering, a meeting place, like you were fine to record people's voices and likenesses. And it is just, if it is a personal conversation behind closed doors and there's the expectation of privacy, then that would have been illegal and like unadmittable in court and all that other type of shit. But yeah, no, because they're literally like, it is an open church. It is a gathering of people. There's not an expectation of privacy. Like they have a sign saying, hey, come in.
One of them in secret. And the fact, and you say, well, there's a subsequent interview that's not on the Tranny channel. Watch that. Hey, the fact that all three of them, the first place they went was to a literal transvestite, shows you the wickedness and the lies. Shows you that it's a load of crap. Because if they had any righteous intention, they would not go to Satan and say, here, Satan, help me do this. That's point number 1. 6 to go.
Great. A point you made so just well, I guess. The way I think about it more is that, again, in their parlance, viewing me as Satan, what kind of hell do you have to be going through that Satan's the one who has to help you out, Stephen? That's the hell he was inflicting on his kids. That they would come to me, somebody who has, for their entire lives, again, I'm a reprobate to these folks. I'm irredeemable. I'm a sodomite. I deserve to be killed. Remember? How bad did it have to be for them to turn to me to tell their story? That's the question Stephen doesn't want you asking. That's the reason he's telling his congregation to not go watch the videos.
Point number 2 is that the accusations made against me are absurd. They are stupid and absurd and ridiculous.
Great. Like, again, just really hitting the nail on the head for not seeming incredibly guilty. It's like, I didn't do the crime. That would be dumb. Chunky little dog just laying here.
The Bible says in Proverbs 14:15, the simple believeth every word.
Thank you, Zoe Jenkins.
Let me update the language there of the King James. The gullible believeth every word is what that means. The simple...
I'm way too famous for that shit you suggested. Oh. No, straight up. Like, oh. Better never go to cell block 1.
Believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. How about some of these and look, I don't have time to sit here and go through all the hours and hours of junk, nor do I have to.
Again, another very funny thing. This is like an hour-plus sermon, and he can rail on me for like 20 minutes about being a sodomite, transvestite, or whatever. But he can't talk about the allegations against him. He can't talk about, apparently, like, I don't have time to go into the things that people are actually saying I did. The wife beating his kids, like inflicting torture on them as punishment. Now, we don't have time to talk about all that. Here's 20 minutes on why you shouldn't listen to this channel that brought those things up. Don't worry about what they are. Like, I can't talk. I don't have time to talk about that. We'd be here all day. Which, again, should tell you something. Like, there's that much to the allegations, and you don't even really bring them up, Stephen. Terrible job trying to make yourself look better, dude.
I will just point out a few things just to show you how ludicrous this is, okay? In the first video, my wife is repeatedly accused of being lazy. Oh, she's so lazy. And that just keeps coming up over and over again about how my wife is lazy. Let me tell you something. My wife is the
remonstrant. You have to be insanely disordered to get on camera purposely looking like a freak from some horror movie. Well, don't look like a freak from some horror movie. Like, I mean, I don't think Stephen can really help it at this point. He just has that kind of Hills Have Eyes physiognomy to him. You know? Like, I try not to insult people's appearance, but he looks like he missed out his Wrong Turn 5 casting call.
hardest working person that I've ever met in my life. My wife is way harder of a worker than I am. She gets up before me, she stays up after me, and she works her butt off. She's out there cleaning and cooking and doing all this stuff. She'll be up cleaning. It's like 11. I'm like begging her to go to bed. I'm like, you got to go to bed. I'm worried about you because you just work so much. She is an extremely hard worker. And guess what? Anybody who knows her knows that that's true. You know how many people have been around my family? You know how many people have been in my house? You know how many people have lived in my house for extended periods of time? I mean, have stayed with us for weeks or even months. We've had frequent house guests that have stayed with. My wife is a super hard worker, and anybody who even knows her at all would just know that that is just blatantly.
Again, what a weird thing to, which, by the way, on her blog, I just went through like all of the blog that's still up the other day. That's where I found the pictures of the busted chairs that corroborate Miriam's story. On her blog, though, she commonly talks about getting all the kids to do housework and making them do housework, which, again, completely lines up with everything John and Miriam said. So this is a really weird point to fixate on, and I don't know why. Of all the allegations, this is the one that he's like trying to address. There's so much more serious things at hand here, dude. Dog Rose Pink, thank you for 100 biddies. Does this guy ever stop complaining in his goddamn sermons? No. David Hashman, thank you for $5. Of course, he can't talk about it. He's too busy playing the victim. 100%. Like that's, oh man, he's going to get to talking later. He's going to like frame it as like, hey, we don't want like, oh, the modern world is so about the victims. What about me? And it's like, dude, fucking what? King Kerplunk, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub to Aries Wolf 96 and Shallow Waters. Thank you for subbing with Prime.
Ridiculous and absurd. Like, that's not even close to being one of my wife's faults. I mean, it's just, it's kind of mind-blowing, to be honest, because my wife is such a hard worker. And then how about this? That I'm power hungry and obsessed with power? Again, anybody who knows.
This is one of the funniest ones that he goes on a tirade against, because like, again, the reason that I preface this with several hours of looking at other like basically character references and videos of people's other accounts with them, he literally blocked on every piece of social media and like disowned from the group another pastor who just brought a minor concern over private group messages to him. Blocked him on like, but yeah, he's not sensitive at all. It's very funny. Also, I want you to keep, again, please keep in mind everything he said so far in the video, because as he gets deeper in, he's trying to make the case that he's not controlling. He doesn't tell people what to do right after saying that anybody who watches my video isn't right with God. That anybody who watches my video is essentially doing the devil's work. Those two things can't coexist, Stephen. You are literally using religion as coercion in your audience. At the same time being like, oh, I let everybody do whatever they want. Well, which is it? Can't be both. Dog Rose Pink, thank you for tier 1, and Fiery One, thank you for following.
Me knows that this isn't true. You know, we got several hundred people here this morning, over 300 people here. Let me say this. Have I ever bossed you around? I mean, just think about it. I've been your pastor for how many years?
Just did.
Have
Literally
I ever bossed you around? Have I ever told you what to do? Have I ever come over to your house and started bossing you and telling you how to run things?
That's literally what you do, Stephen. That's what you do from the pulpit. Just because, like, again, you have 300 people in your sermon, just because you haven't like gone to somebody's house personally to tell them what to do, that doesn't mean that people aren't ostracized if they disagree with you. We know they are. People have been kicked out of the church for disagreeing with him. Like not even about important shit. Just like disagreeing. He cannot handle disagreement.
Things that do things? No, I haven't. But I'm obsessed with power. It's funny. People were claiming that I was controlling my pastor friends and stuff like that. Pastor Bruce Mejia put out a video saying, you know what, I was on his payroll working for him and he didn't even tell me what to do.
This is also, again, sorry, I keep pausing it just because there's so many little things. Very funny that he's like, yeah, people are saying I control my pastor friends and what they say. If that's true, why do they all just endlessly fawn praise upon me? If I control everything they say, why haven't they ever said anything bad about me? Come on, think here, buddy. Think. Media breakdown. Thank you for $4.99. Real talk. You seemed sad earlier. I did not intend it as an insult. We're going for irony. Mega Satan is a high-level boss fight in Binding of Isaac. No, I wasn't sad. I wasn't sad. Sorry. It's been a long day. It's been a long day and a long week, if y'all couldn't tell by this video.
I was literally his employee. Anselm, you worked for us. Did I even tell you what to do? I mean, he said I've never even told him what to do. How does that even work? It's true, though. I don't tell Brother Segura what to do. I don't tell Raymond Cooper what to do. I don't tell Ramon Ventura what to do. I don't tell Corbin Russell what to do. Why? I give them general principles. I explain to them the mission. I explain to them what needs to get done. And then I'm just like, all right, guys, let's get it done. And I give them tons of freedom. I let them do their own thing. Like, again, anybody who actually knows us just knows that these people are just throwing stuff at the wall, just lying and making crap up.
Uh-huh.
How about this one? 20 spankings a day in my house, with 1/3 of them being in violation of Arizona law. Okay? Just let this sink in. 20 spankings a day, and approximately 1/3 of them. So apparently 7 times a day, or 7 children a day, or 7 incidents a day of just bruising and bloodying or whatever, the stupid accusations are. Well, then wouldn't somebody notice that over the last 20 years?
People did notice. Your kids noticed it on each other, Stephen. Again, if you watched the video, you might have known that. Just saying. Constructive criticism here. You want to talk about people who've noticed stuff? I can't talk about that. That's not mine to talk about. Never mind.
Of us just being super involved in the community. I mean, it's not just that we go to church 3 times a week. We're super involved in the community. In the summertime, we're hitting Pico's pool several times a week in the summertime, okay? We're literally involved in all of these homeschool groups, PE groups, all kinds of activities and stuff. But it's funny how nobody's ever seen or heard anything about this
So, this is an interesting thing I just thought about. If nobody's ever seen or heard anything about this, how does that square with apparently what Stephen was saying earlier, that CPS has been called multiple times in the last 10 years? Why would CPS just be randomly called if people hadn't seen anything? That circle doesn't really square to me.
Till this coordinated, organized attack with a stated goal of just taking me out of the ministry and getting me to step down as pastor. That's the stated goal. All of a sudden this comes, and you know what? It's hilarious to me that people would actually believe that kind of bizarre, exaggerated hyperbole and say, it seems right, the Bible says, here's some good verses for you. Psalm 27.
Good God. Leia Cameron, thank you for $5. Fox Sports has a new podcast where the hero is a literal groomer and they mention it, then skip right over it. Thoughts? Sacred Acre podcast. I hate that. It wasn't that piece of shit at the Olympics, was it? I hate that. Like, I don't mean to, like, be snarky, but, like, as far as thoughts go, hate that. For initial reaction, hate. Strong disdain. Not a fan.
12, deliver me not over unto the will of mine enemies, for false witnesses are risen up against me, and such as breathe out cruelty. How about this? Mark 14:56, for many bear false witness against him, but their witness agreed not together.
Now, here's the fun part where he's talking, he will say, okay, this is the word of God. And then later on, he'll bring up the fact that verses I've posted against him have been used, and he will essentially hand wave those verses away, especially about being brought forward with 2 or 3 witnesses. So this is a great example of how he picks and chooses what matters from the Bible to him.
Funny how the first video, it was all me as the bad guy. My wife's great. Next video, my wife is the worst person ever, and I was, quote, all in all, a good dad.
So, because those are from 2 different, Stephen, 2 different people can have 2 different perspectives of an issue depending on their relationship with you. For example, the son you beat the shit out of and kicked in the head might speak a little bit less nice of you and a little bit nicer of his mom. Like, just saying. The fact that their perspectives don't line up doesn't mean that the stories they're telling go against each other, because they don't. Like, at all. What are you talking about?
Which one is it? Right? But then that didn't sell very well. So then the next video is like, oh, you know, I'm sorry I was...
Is Steven in the chat? No. Is he? Oh, yeah, Lizzie baby. Why do people listen to this? Why is he talking like this? Why is he only bringing up verses for things relevant to him as a person? That's literally how they preach. Like, that's just how they preach. They just talk about, like, one verse to back something up. Then they'll flip all the way to the other side of the Bible for another verse that they tie together. I talk about it all in my infiltration video. Yeah, that's just their, like, MO. I don't think he's in the chat. I don't think so. Hello dog. Hello puppy. Dog, what are you doing? You're being such a bug.
So positive about my dad, let me just talk pure crap about him now. Is that what you guys want to hear? I don't know, this looks really bad, Pastor. Well, judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Amen. So number 1, my accusers went to a literal Satan-worshiping transvestite. Number 2, the accusations are absurd. We could just go on all day picking apart all the stupidity, the inconsistencies, and all those things. I'm not going to. Number 3, how about this? Even the accusations that I'm being accused of are not even condemned by the Bible.
So here we go.
How about the fact that even if all this stupid crap were true, which it isn't, it would be embarrassing. You could say.
So here's the real crux of the issue. Here's moving the goalposts. Is like, why would you, in trying to exonerate yourself, say, well, even if it was true, it would be okay, unless you feared that it's going to come out even more at some point that it is true. Why would you say that at all? Why would you, if it's not true, why would you ever even entertain the thought that it's okay if it is true? Again, you can't have both, Stephen. Pick one.
Hey, it's bad, I don't like it, it's you're weird or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm not even being accused of even violating the Bible. Look, if you would, at Exodus chapter 20. Look at Exodus chapter 20. Because Exodus chapter 20 is the summary of God's moral law. Okay? The summary of God's moral law is found in the Ten Commandments. Okay? So let's look at the summary of God's moral law together now, and we'll just briefly do this. We'll just do this quickly for sake of time. But how about verse 3, first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Have I been accused of having any other gods before the Lord? Second commandment, thou shalt not make unto thee any...
Again, so this is a really dumb section where he's talking about like, oh, I haven't been accused of anything that defies the 10 Commandments. No. But God commands a lot of other shit, dude. Like, there's a lot of rules and regulations in that book. You've broken a bunch of them. Like a bunch. Commie Link, thank you for following.
Graven image. Okay, is that what, am I being accused of having an idol in a secret place? And I'm like, oh, Hare Krishna or something. No. Number 7, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Nobody's saying that I went around saying, you know, Jesus Christ as an expletive or something, right? Okay? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. That's not even a New Testament thing. But I don't think I'm being accused of being a Sabbath violator here. Okay? How about this? Honor thy father and mother. How about that? Am I being accused of not honoring my father and mother? And let me just go on the record right now. I had 2 wonderful parents, and I'm super thankful for my amazing Christian upbringing. How about this one? Thou shalt not kill. Am I being accused of killing anyone? Thou shalt not commit adultery. Have I been accused of adultery? Nope. Thou shalt not steal. Have I been accused of stealing anything? Nope. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Have I been accused of bearing false witness against my neighbor? Is that what this is all about? Is this a big...
I'm accusing you of that because, like, you literally said that your brother abducted your daughter. That is false witness, Stephen. That is literally false witness. You are giving witness to a crime, a falsehood. Like, yes, you have done that. Also, he very much barely even brings that up.
For bearing false witness against his neighbor. Is that what this is?
Sure. Yeah.
Thou shalt not covet. No, because it's funny, because even my accusers, as they're trying to sit there and get them to say bad things about me, you know. So
again, I didn't. Like, if you actually go watch the videos, I let the kids tell their stories. Like, I'm barely in those interviews, honestly, because I am just a vector, which is the way good journalism and good interviews should be. I am a vector for questions, for curiosity, for expanding the conversation and what they want to talk about and giving them a platform, right? I'm not trying to, like, get them to say something in particular. They just have a lot of shit to say about you. Like, they just have a lot of bad shit to say. I don't need to, like, try and manipulate them.
Oh, is Pastor Anderson in it for the money? Is that why he does? Is he profiting financially from the ministry? You know what my own accuser said?
I did not. I don't believe I've ever brought up the money of it. Forgive me if I'm mistaken. That has never been, like, a major concern of mine. I kind of don't care, but I do not believe I've ever done that, which kind of would make this false witness, Stephen. I'm just saying. Bridge of the Divide, thank you for $4.99. Anderson subscribes to the Captain Barbosa version of the 10 Commandments. More what you'd call guidelines.
He said, no, actually, he doesn't care about money at all. He just kind of has the same possessions for years and years, and he just the same old stuff, and he just doesn't care about money at all.
Oh, he's talking about the other video with
sex,
John.
and it's not money.
Okay, that wasn't
power.
me.
Yep, that's it. It's
the
power.
other video.
I'm super power hungry, right, Anselm?
Here's an entire video about how I'm innocent, and even if I did something bad, it's okay because the Bible says it's okay. And also, anybody who speaks out against me is unholy and you're of Satan, but I'm not power hungry at all. Come on, dude. Like, you did not think this through at all. Not at all. Dave the Nord, thank you for subscribing with Prime.
So the accusations aren't, we just went through the 10 Commandments. Now look, I understand that these are not the only commandments in the Bible, but you know what? If we went through the other 603 commandments of the Old Testament, you know what? You're still not going to find commandments that I violated. I'm saving.
I love this. He's about to say, I'm saving you time. Just take my word for it that I haven't violated anything. Great, dude. Great. What about provoke not your children to wrath? How about that? How about that? How about if there are 2 or 3 witnesses against your elder? How about that, Stephen? Bernice Panders, thank you for $10. Stephen, you hate all minorities, especially LGBTQ, and want to live in a country where laws are based on your religious text. Maybe move to the Middle East, you'd be much more at home. Oh, he wouldn't like that. There are too many not white people. And Jews. Israel, he's not a fan. No, yeah, if people forgot, he is wildly anti-Semitic too.
Time by just looking at the Ten Commandments as an overall summary of God's moral law. If you wanted, we could go through 600 commandments, and sin's the transgression of the law last time I checked.
Please, let's do it. I will sit here with you all night, Stephen. Let's go through the 600. Let's do it, buddy.
So number one, they went to a satanic transvestite. That should tell you everything you need to know.
Bring it back up again.
Number
Let's
two,
go. Let's go.
These accusations are absurd and not true. Okay. The witnesses' testimonies don't agree with each other. Number three.
He didn't really. That again. His proof of the witnesses' testimonies not agreeing with each other were not actually what the videos say, because what they say, what John says about Isaac's testimony is like, yeah, every bad thing he said was true. I think my brother did not go hard enough into how bad my mom was. It's just from different perspectives. They actually do line up with each other, because even Miriam said, yes, I've watched both of the interviews. Everything my brothers say is true. You're just lying, Stephen. You're just lying. Some might say giving false witness, even.
Is that even the accusations aren't even condemned by the Bible. It's just like, oh, you were mean and spanked too hard, or just whatever stupid crap that isn't even true anyway. But number four, the accusers themselves are explicitly condemned by the Bible. And here's the thing, there's no faith required for this point. There's no he said, she said. I think we can all agree that the accusers are not honoring their father and mother. Amen. I mean, is there anybody here that would say that they are actually honoring their father? But
again, it's this blanket statement, this kind of wall that he can hide behind, right? Where at every point, I cannot stress, if you're a viewer of Steven Anderson, if you're a fan and you somehow found your way this far into this stream, I need you to consider for a moment how he is swaddling himself in this protective layer of Scripture, where any time something can get close enough to touch him or hurt him, he is able to swat it away by being, oh, well, the Scripture says I'm above reproach. The Scripture says you should respect your father and mother. So obviously, if they're talking out about abuse, they're not respecting the father and mother. He is simply using it as a cudgel at every turn. And think more about the fact that he has spent so much time talking about how he is justified if anything were to happen, yet refuses, completely skipped over the actual allegations, the actual things people are concerned about. He hasn't addressed them at all. Yet this person whose veins are popping out of his head is trying to convince you that he is a sane, reasonable, kind, loving, caring person. Who believes that?
It's actually in the Ten Commandments. Honor thy father and mother, the Bible says in verse 12, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And here's another one. How about this? Verse 16, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And so my accusers are guaranteed to have done those two things right there. Two major violations of God's moral law. And so I'm being accused of stuff that's not even in the Bible. They're being accused of something that is in the Bible. And anybody with eyes that work, or even eyes that don't work, Stevie Wonder could see that they have violated these things. What does the Bible say? What did you say? Well, why are you in the Old Testament? Well, how about the New Testament? Here's Jesus, red letters, for those of you with the red letter edition. Matthew 15:4, for God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. Well, that sounds like a pretty serious sin, to curse your father and mother. And yes, 2 of these people have cursed me by anyone's definition. There, Proverbs 30, verse 11, there is a generation that curses their father and does not bless their mother. We are living in that generation. And you know what? You know what's so funny is that a lot of the reason why so many people have supported me is because they're just like, we're dealing with the same thing. We've already dealt with the same thing. We've already seen the same thing. We've already done it. We've already seen it. We already know about it. Because it's epidemic. And you know.
So, again, Stephen has a history of people coming out against him later because he just like pushes people out if they don't agree with him. Like, I cannot stress this enough. These things have happened and continue to happen. And the common denominator here in all of these things, from incidents in the past to abuse to people still coming forward now, like the pastors we were just talking about, the common denominator here, it's Stephen. So, I don't know what to tell you, Hunty. Oof. Vanessa, thank you for subscribing with Prime.
Why? Because of garbage teaching, because of a garbage culture, because of feminist garbage, because of this backward, twisted, insane world that we're living in. And it's turning America into a cesspool because you've destroyed the family, you've destroyed the home, and it's going to ultimately destroy society. Parents do what's right and rule their home. The world doesn't back them up. No.
Again, okay, so what he's saying here is that I've only ever done what's right and the world isn't backing me up. Because of feminist garbage. Oh man, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's good stuff.
The world's gonna side with the victims or whatever. You know what the Bible says? Servants be subject. You say, well, they don't have to honor their parents if their parents aren't good parents. That's funny. The Bible says servants be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good in general.
Okay, well, servants aren't... Dude, again, you're trying... oh my God. You are trying... I feel like a stage director, like giving... Like, okay, no. You're going for one thing, but you need to be more feeling this in the moment. Stephen, you are trying to convey the idea that you are innocent and that you're not power hungry or manipulative. So pulling out a Bible passage and referring to kids as servants and slaves and you as their master? Not it, babes. Not the move. That is not doing what you think you're doing. To everybody out of La La Land, you just called your kids servants. You just called your kids slaves. That doesn't make you look better. That just backs up all of the accusations. Why? Like, you can't not tell him
But
himself.
also the forward. Now look, that's not specifically about parents, but it shows that God in general is saying, obey authority, period. Oh, you obey authority. If that's your God-given authority, it doesn't say obey your mom if you feel like it. Obey your mom because she's nice. Obey your dad because he's the...
Again, literally, this is a lot of what was in the corporal punishment speech he did. The idea that you just like go along with what I say, and anybody who speaks against that, like he is, the way he is defining these things essentially means that there is no room for something to be actually abusive or abuse. That's what he's getting at here.
perfect dad. That's not what it says. It just says obey your parents. It just says honor your father and mother. But number 5, go if you would to 1 Timothy chapter 3. Let me review the points again. Number 1, Satan worshiping tranny. Enough said. Number 2, the accusations are absurd.
Is it?
Number 3, the accusations aren't even condemned by the Bible. Number 4, the accusers themselves are explicitly condemned by the Bible.
Again, like, listen to him. Oh my God. The accusations are absurd, but also they're not condemned by the Bible. So even if they weren't absurd, they would be fine. Like, dude, bro, oh my God. I want to rub my eyes so bad because I'm just tired and my eyes hurt. Holy shit, dude. Unbelievable.
And number 5, I have proven that I am qualified to be a pastor. And you want to know how I've proven that I'm qualified to be a pastor? By successfully doing the job for 18 and a half years. That's how I prove that I'm qualified to be a pastor. You see, these scriptures are being taken out of context anyway, because this scripture in 1 Timothy 3 is about an untested, unproven guy. Like, who do we look for to put in this position? Well, let's look for a guy that has these essential qualities. Because we don't know if he can do this. We don't know if he's going to be right. We don't know if he's going to succeed. Titus is saying, well, we need to ordain elders in every city, so let's look for a guy that checks these boxes. Okay, but imagine the stupidity of walking in to, let's say, an electrical contractor, right? Finding one of their most successful electricians who's been working there for 18 and a half years, successfully performing the job, and saying, this guy's unqualified. Stop this guy, he's an unqualified electrician. Bro, he's been doing the job for 18 and a half years and absolutely...
Sorry for no name in the YouTube chat. Why is he obsessed with me being trans? Because to him, that is all the justification he needs to say anything I platform shouldn't be listened to. Like, that is one of his ways that he is just completely discounting the testimony of his victims.
Killing it. So what are we talking about here? You'd be laughed out of anywhere saying that someone who had successfully performed the job is unqualified. Let's look at what the Word of God says. 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife,
it's like putting me to
vigilant,
sleep.
sober, of
Holy
good
shit.
behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach, not given to wine, no striker. Now let's stop right there. No striker. Oh, that means you can't spank your kids. Are you dumb in any other area or just this one? Okay? Is it okay if I strike a match? Is that okay? Can I bowl a strike? I mean, stop and think about this, okay? What do you think the Bible means when it says, not a striker, not a greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous? So what does it mean, no striker, no...
So that is also... People have accused you of that. People have accused you of fighting your kids and beating the shit out of your kids. Like, that's a big issue at hand here, Stephen. You're just not acknowledging it at all.
Brawler. Does it mean that you don't rule your house and you don't discipline your kids? Or do you think it means that you don't go out there as a hothead getting in fights? And let me tell you something. I piss people off for a living. And in the last 25 years, I have never been in a fist fight in the last 25 years. And let me tell you about some things that have happened over the last 25 years. I've been slapped in the face with an open palm many times over the last 25 years.
Wait, somebody just said he's live on YouTube. Do you have a link? Do you have a link? I would love to see.
Sort of like, Will Smith slapping Chris Rock style. Okay, I've been slapped across the face with an open palm several times. But you know what? I made a decision even before I became a pastor. I made a decision. If someone slaps me in the face, I will turn the other cheek and I will not fight back.
I know,
because
Nikki T. I know the feeling exactly.
If every time somebody shoves you, and I've been shoved a bunch of times. One time I literally got shoved so hard, somebody shoved me into a window and the window shattered. It was one of those old single pane windows. And it was like a Western or something. And I was literally shoved into a window and it shattered. And you know what? I did not get in a fight. Because I've never been in a fight in the last 25 years. Okay.
I don't believe that for a fucking second. I believe that first off, if somebody did physically assault him, I think he's just too much of a pussy to fight back. Like, I think he has Napoleon syndrome for sure. But the idea, like, the channel is, do you have the, yeah, I mean, drop a link. If they're about to start their late night service, I'm curious what it is. We can watch it in real time.
The reason I say 25 years, I was a teenager, just a young, whatever. That was a stupid playground type stuff. But the point is that I made a decision a long time ago that if somebody shoves me, I'm not in danger. They're just trying to insult me. They're just trying to hurt my ego. They're just trying to hurt my pride. They're not actually trying. Somebody who's actually trying to injure you or harm you or kill you, they don't shove you. And you know what else they don't do? They don't slap you with an open palm. I mean, do you think in MMA fights it's just like... Now look, if somebody closed their fist and swung a closed fist at me, depending on the situation, I'm probably going to fight back, unless I just felt I was in no danger. If I felt that I was in no danger, I still wouldn't fight back. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? But, if somebody comes at me and then that seems like they're actually trying to hurt me, maybe kill me or whatever. And I'm not against defending yourself, but I am against defending your ego. I'm against defending your pride, especially as a man of God. Because guess what? These are real things that over 18 and a half years of ministry have happened many times. I've been slapped, I've been shoved, I've done, and guess what? I'm no striker, right? And I'm no brawler. Not greedy of filthy lucre. Well, even my enemies are explaining that to people.
not a brawler, not covetous. Again, my enemies are explaining that as well. One that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. Let me just point out the operative phrase here, his own house, not somebody else's house. Ruling well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. Let me tell you something. I have ruled well my own house, and I've had my children in subjection with all gravity. And you know what? All of the children that are living in my home now and have ever lived in my home in the past, at all points in time, were in subjection, and I was ruling well my house, period. And I'll prove that to you in a moment. But then we're going to come back to that about ruling well his own house. Let's just look at verse 5. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God? Again, let's use a little common sense here. The Bible.
So this is another part that he is constantly talking about, the idea that ruling your own house is essentially a way to say that, yeah, if I am beating people into subjection, it's because that's what the Bible wants. And that is apparently like a main quality that they're looking for in pastors. Like that was what one of the other preachers was saying, like disqualified him from being a pastor, is that, oh, he's not ruling his own house. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I was literally saying, if you can't rule well your own house, you will not be able to take care of the church of God. So please explain to me how my pastorate has been so wildly successful. If I can't rule well my own house, then it would be impossible for me to take care of the church of God, unless you don't believe this verse. Because this verse says you have to be able to do one to do the other. And look, when I say successful, I'm not just talking about numbers or something. I'm talking about real, genuine results. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about packing some stadium with a bunch of bodies for a Christian rock concert. I'm not talking.
All right. I want to see him talk about Jack Hyles real quick.
Here's my point, is that I've already proven that I'm qualified. I don't know. I'm not sure if Pastor Anderson's qualified. Okay, did Pastor Anderson successfully do the job for 18 and a half years? Well, then he must be qualified. Just think about how stupid that is for a second. And by the way, this is not a new doctrine for me to say that people have free will, that every individual decides whether or not they get saved, and no one can make that decision for them except for their own parents, and that people have to choose to serve God on their own, and that we can't control our adult children. And let me just prove that to you right now. Let me tell you who I have loved and supported consistently for the last 25 years, since long before I was a pastor, for 25 years straight. Who have I loved and consistently supported? Brother Hyles.
Here we go.
Brother Hyles. You know, Brother Jack Hyles, who I believe is the greatest preacher of the 20th century.
That's a great thing for you to say, Stephen. Let's go really quick, talk about Jack Hyles. Where was that? Here we go. In light of the first-hand testimonies that have been published, this pastor is simply closing his eyes to the truth for whatever reason. There's a gross lack of spiritual discernment at play here. As to getting to the truth of the issue, now I want you to think about what Stephen just said. His adoration, uncritical love and support of Jack Hyles. And then think of all the shit that has been said about Stephen, about him being a possible cult leader, about him controlling and coercing others. As we're talking about Jack Hyles, I want you to see if you can find some parallels, because they're pretty glaring. As to the truth of the issue of Jack Hyles, let's not listen to his deacons, of whom he bragged publicly that they would have jumped off a bridge if he told them to do so. Hyles had deacons come forward during pastor schools and would order them to sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, repeatedly to demonstrate his unquestioning power over them. Again, this is the guy who Stephen Anderson is like, yeah, this is the greatest preacher ever. Hyles had a morally inappropriate relationship with a woman who was not his wife, that he lived a double life by deception, that he was a cult leader who controlled his people as a lord and not as a godly shepherd. The last point is as unscriptural and wrong and dangerous as the first. Evidence was provided, a longtime deacon at First Baptist, proving that Jack Hyles stole the affection of his wife, even if he didn't actually commit physical adultery with her. Long-standing passionate romantic steam, there is probably physical adultery, but certainly there is mental adultery. You'll see that Hyles' own daughter and Judy Nishik's daughter both believed that the two had an adulterous affair. Regardless, he was unquestionably guilty of a grossly improper relationship with one who wasn't his wife. His influence was vast. They should have been a cry against him from every Bible-believing Baptist pulpit. Instead, the silence was golden and still is. The bravest voices lifted against him were the voices of women, the very women who had been hurt by his ungodly actions, women who showed themselves stronger than a huge number of weak-kneed, ostrich-like pastors. There's a lot of shit about Jack Hyles, who is also It's not going to surprise you that he was a cult-like figure. Let's do... What did he say about the gays? God hates it. God goes so far as to condemn to everlasting torment the soul of every person who is homosexual. Control. Oh, shit. Never mind. Jesus had short hair, if you're wondering where you fucking got that from. Yeah, whatever. Long story short, Jack Howes is a piece of shit. Somebody said 113 or 114. I forgot what this was.
Worshipers channel. The first one didn't have to put it on a Satan channel. The second one didn't have to put it on a Satan channel.
Yeah, I'll go to 110.
You have to say so. You have to defend yourself. You owe it to us. Well, you know what? Be careful what you wish for. You want it, you got it. Coming right up.
All right, let's.
And I still believe that Brother Howe is the greatest man of God of the 20th century. But number 6, and do not miss this point. This is a really key point here. If I'm supposedly unqualified now, that means I was unqualified in 2010. How about?
Yep, that's how it works. Like yeah. So I'm gonna skip over this because it's fucking boring. But a lot of his this sermon is just him patting himself on the back and being like, I've saved over hundreds of thousands of souls to Christ. Like, is that something an unjust person would do? A person who isn't fit for office? Like, yeah, dude. Like, that doesn't define, like, you being forgiven for all the other awful shit you do, ding dong. All right, yeah.
That are attacking me is I want to say that if you think I'm unqualified, that means that I was already unqualified before you even got saved listening to my preaching. And you know what's funny? They're like, well, why would your kids rebel against you? I don't know. You're my spiritual kid. Why are you rebelling against me, punk? You want to know what makes a child the ungrateful, undeserving brat who rebels against their parent? Go look in the mirror. If I want you to...
So again, who raised the child? Like, wouldn't that fall to you if you'd been ruling your house correctly? I would, Stephen, I thought that would fall to you. Aren't you responsible? If your kids are rebellious brats, as you say, that is evidence of you not ruling your house correctly, right? Like, the things you're saying aren't lining up on your story, buddy.
Lord, because I can't even count how many of these people are like, you won me to Christ, Pastor Anderson, but you're so bad. You are literally exactly like my rebellious physical children. You're just the rebellious spiritual children. It's the same exact thing. Well, yeah, but somebody's got to tell me why. Only you can answer that question, bozo. Because you're literally the same way. So maybe you should be answering that question for me. Maybe you should explain that to me if I won you to Christ and now you're throwing me under the bus because of what's been said on a satanic transvestite channel. Oh man, this is such a tough decision.
That's me.
I don't know. It's like,
That's me.
Who do you trust? Satanic transvestite channel or Pastor Anderson? Oh man, I got to pray about this. Hey, I'm just going to be Switzerland on this. I'm going to be Switzerland on this one. You know what? If you're Switzerland, go to freaking Switzerland because I don't want you here. Because you need to get on the Lord's side. You need to get on the man of God's side and not be on the fence about this because you know what? Guess what? If it's on a satanic channel, that's like your first little clue from God. Because again, it didn't have to be that way. It didn't have to be on a Satan worshiper's channel.
See.
The first one didn't have to put it on a Satan channel.
I've literally never, like, it's so funny that he thinks, one of the reasons I've kept Lamb Chop, because I've had a lot of people over videos be like, oh, I don't like the satanic imagery. And it's like, why? Like, I've been around satanic imagery my entire life. Like, I played Doom when I was 7. I've been listening to metal literally my entire life. I am not a Satan worshiper. I don't worship Satan. I appreciate the artistic value that a lot of it has, though, especially when it comes to performative art and pissing people like this off. It's just very funny. It's very funny. Yeah, also, Lamb Chop is adorable. Sorry, Lamb Chop's not going anywhere.
The second one didn't have to put it on a Satan channel. The third one didn't have to put it on a Satan. You want to know why they all put it on a Satan channel? Because God allowed it to go down that way.
Literally, one of my top, like, I don't know if it's top 5, but one of my top 10 videos is me exposing the Satanic Temple Like, I worked for a month on that fucking documentary, dude. But I'm a Satan worshiper. Ooh, like, come on. Come on.
Show people who's telling the truth so that people wouldn't have to be struggling to figure out who's telling the truth. They can just know that my wife and I and all the other witnesses that have said that they're lying, that they're telling the truth. And it's so funny how they're just like, well, there's 2 or 3 witnesses. Well, you know what? I got 2 or 3 witnesses saying it didn't happen. So what now?
So what now? I don't know. Maybe go to the Bible, because that is like, notice how this was the thing I was talking about. He spent so long talking about like, oh, I'm not doing this unbiblically. I'm not doing this unbiblically. The one time he mentions a Bible verse that people have been using to call him out, he's like, nuh-uh. So what now? It's like, dude, you, what? Huh? You, like, you're just picking and choosing what you want to take seriously. Unbelievable.
Now it just becomes a matter of satanic tranny versus man of God who has succeeded for the last 18 and a half years. And look, I haven't succeeded, by the way.
Oh my gosh. Stephen, this is a fight I think I'm going to win. Honestly. Like, if you're talking about satanic tranny, moi, versus man of God, where is that? It's over here. Man of God. And the man of God can't even like look me in the eye. Can't even like watch the stuff I'm doing. I feel like we're kind of on uneven footing here, Stephen. You're putting yourself at a little handicap in this battle. The Midland Connection, thank you for $5. Just remember any channel he doesn't approve of, he'd label it satanic. Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, like, it doesn't help. For my purposes, it doesn't help that I have Lamb Chop, but whatever. I love Lamb Chop.
World standards. I'm saying I've succeeded spiritually, like getting people saved, like, you know, starting soul winning movements across America and fighting all these battles for the Lord. And lastly, I'll say this, point number 7, once you realize that they're lying, it's wicked to keep listening to their crap. In fact,
Exactly.
I would say it was wicked to even listen to their crap in the first place. A wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar giveth ear to a naughty tongue. And like I said, you don't think that people have made...
Now, first off, I do have a naughty tongue. Guilty as charged. Second off, you notice how he just basically says you shouldn't listen to anything they've said. It's wicked to listen. It's wicked to try and understand where these abuse allegations are coming from. This is how he controls his congregation. By convincing them that if they seek out the abuse allegations, if they try and corroborate the 2 or 3 witnesses against him that he just hand waves away, that they are doing the devil's work.
Made videos lying and slandering my pastor friends, and I didn't even watch it for 5 seconds. Some of these same channels and same platforms have had these interviews with people from their past and different weird stuff and all this crap, and it's all lies, and I know it's stupid and it's garbage and it's satanic. That's why I don't listen to any of it for even 5 seconds. I don't give ear to a naughty tongue. I don't listen to lies. But you know what? We live in this weird busybody society where everybody's this voyeur and they want to know what's going on in Pastor Anderson's house. And by the way, there's so much to say, but let me just stop and say this. How would you, those of you who actually lived life, I'm not talking about you little teenagers and young adults who you haven't even lived life yet. Okay? How many of you that are actually middle-aged would like the last 20 years of your life distilled down to the darkest, worst moments, and then exaggerated, embellished, distorted, blown out of proportion, and then just add in some outright lies for good measure? Huh? Would you, even if it were just true things, would you want the last 20 years of your life, all of the darkest moments, to be all distilled, forget all the good times, forget all the nice things, and just all the worst moments, and then paint them all in the worst light, in the worst context, and then distort, and then just add outright lies? Huh? Think about it, my friend. But what's funny is when someone does that to someone else, you listen to it. I'll bet when people call you by mistake, when they butt dial you, I'll bet you don't even hang up, you just listen. See what's really going on over there. You know, see what they're saying when they don't know that they're on the line. You're probably one of those people that just keeps listening. Instead of just being like, oh, they called me by mistake, hang up. You're jamming the phone to your ear because it's so quiet. And you're trying to hear and see what's going on in that background. You voyeur weirdo. Obviously, I could go on and on. I think I've made the main points that I wanted to make.
Have you though? All right, you're right on one count. You can go on and on. You've proven this. Wrong about the second count. No, you have not made any cogent, cohesive points. Dude.
You know, we could do this all day. We could talk about this all morning. But let me just say this. Here's what's funny is what's funny is that people are supporting me. Yeah, but you know, It's the Miriam video that got me though. You know. Oh, you talking about the video?
Another thing that I feel really bears repeating and bears understanding is that if you go to Stephen's Facebook page, and the Facebook page is, like, by the way, he's been posting this shit on the official church page. He has been posting and reposting memes, essentially mocking the idea that he abused his kids. Now, child abuse, obviously, I feel is a very serious issue. And if somebody, 3 people have now talked about your abuse, I don't think the way to prove your innocence is to joke about it. That's what he's doing here, though. He is effectively laughing at and mocking the idea that people would be touched by Miriam's story and testimony. That's what he's doing.
Where the host is in a dress, wearing makeup, Boy George, right out of the gate, first few minutes, because at least like he tried to look like semi-normal in some of the other interviews. He still looks like a freak, but like, I mean, this one is just fully in drag. So that's the one that.
I was not fully in drag for the Miriam interview. I don't even remember if I was wearing makeup. I think I was wearing a little bit of makeup. I was not fully in drag. I don't think they understand what drag is. This is closer to fully in drag, but I don't have like a wig or anything.
I did it for you, huh? All right, dumbass, there's the door. And you want to know what's funny about that? Is that my daughter, Rebecca, sat down and watched that entire video. And she was enraged, and she said that there is no truth in this video. She said that this video is not even based on kernels of truth. She said that every single story in the video was either fabricated, or it was something that happened to her or John, being just distorted and made 1,000 times worse. But it was like, she said, I felt like I had my identity stolen a few times. And then the coup de grace was when they put a picture of Rebecca on the screen and said it was Miriam. Like, that was, she's like, that's it, I'm done.
So the reason because I've watched this sermon before, the reason why I used that picture is because Susanna, on her own blog and website, said that was Miriam, not Rebecca. Like, that was, I was going by the information Susanna put out there. Like, underneath the picture, I believe it said Miriam. Like, that's why I picked the picture specifically. Secondly, I cut out, and because Stephen wants to bring her into this, because Rebecca is 16, 15, 16, don't know. She's well under legal adult age. She is still a child. I cut out a large amount of my conversation with Miriam about Rebecca. And I don't want to talk about it. If other people do, if they want to come forward with those details, that's fine. But I find the things he's saying very suspect. I do. And I will just leave it at that.
You know, and let me just say this too. You want to know why I will never back down? Because I was there. So you can sit there and say, well, I don't know, it looks bad. Look, what am I supposed to believe? It looks bad. But even if the entire world believes this crap, I will never believe it because I was there. How can I believe it when I was there? I lived it. I know it's lies. So the whole world could tell me that it's not. Sorry, I know it's a lie because I was there. I mean, again, I could just go on and on. It's like, it was surreal watching that video for her to say, oh, he came and screamed at me in Target and made a big scene in the Target. When what's funny is, in South Carolina, what's funny is when I went to the Target in South Carolina, I never even saw her. I was never in the same room with her. I never saw her. I never interacted with her. I never talked to her. And so, literally, for all I know, her.
Okay, she didn't say, again, Steve, you can get your story straight if you actually watch the video. She didn't say, like, he's straight up lying to his audience because he refused to watch the video because he's such a bitch baby. She said that he was yelling outside, not that he was yelling at her. She saw him, and it triggered a panic attack. You think you're disproving something, you're not. You're actually corroborating the story. You dork.
Her hair could have been blonde, brown, black, red, short, long, because I don't even know what she looked like that day. I don't even know what she was wearing that day because I literally didn't even interact with her. By the time I got there, she was in a room and there was some loss prevention guy standing outside protecting her from her parent. And the sheriff's deputy went in and talked to her. I never even saw her, let alone talk to her, let alone interacted with her, let alone raise my voice. I didn't raise my voice to anyone and I didn't even talk to her. But so to hear her say, oh, my dad's screaming at me and making a scene, you know what, that's when I knew, you know what, she's not delusional and like.
He didn't. key point, he did not deny making a scene in Target. Like, that's what I find at issue here. He didn't say, no, I didn't cause a scene at Target. He is just trying to disprove something that the story he's telling agrees with.
Actually believing that these things are true, because there's no way that she believes that, like, cause, you know, because it's one thing, you wonder sometimes when people are lying, like, are they just so twisted in their mind that they actually have just, like, twisted these things in their mind and believe them? Because, you know, sometimes when people lie, they convince themselves and twist things up in their mind, distort reality in their mind.
Oh, do they,
folks,
Stephen?
when it's
That's
just
fucking crazy. Sometimes people convince themselves of things? You don't say.
that out there. You know what I mean? Just, you know, scissors, throwing scissors at people's faces and all this crazy. It's like, once it gets that far out there, you're just like, there's no way that she believes in this.
Is that
Like, there's no
far
way that
out
she
there?
believes in this. She is literally a trained actress. She is literally a theater major, okay?
Give me 1 second. Okay.
Let me tell you about bad old dad here.
No, straight up.
For the-
So somebody asking, is he really discrediting a 17-year-old girl based on interest in theater? He is essentially, so the thing he says here is that he is, because Miriam has acted in like community theater, which is what he'll say, because she's been in like productions of Annie and shit, he is essentially saying that she is a trained actress who is capable of just deceiving with her testimony. Like she is literally an actress. Like she's able to just like flip a switch and pull out an Academy Award winning performance. Like that's what he's trying to say here.
Last year, I drove her to Mesa Community College twice a week to take classes
Pink J,
down
thank
there
you
to
for
finish up her
subscribing
high
with Prime.
school, because all my kids are homeschooled, but I had them doing like I had her doing a dual enrollment, okay? So
The
that by the
streams mod is automatically hitting the 24-hour timeout on anyone bringing up a oh, okay, well, I gotta go. All right, well, let's go see this real quick. Watch a little bit of this since we're basically at the end. It just kind of repeats like that. Yeah, how dare she make friends in community theater? Oh, it's just him. Okay, cool. He looks angry again. Shocker. He's doing his thing.
In front of us, precisely because that is a strong temptation, especially for young men, okay? It's tough, it's difficult, it's hard. But you know what? You push through, you suffer through it, you be patient, you wait, and then you enjoy for the rest of your life, right? Or you could just enjoy now and go out and do all that and sow all your wild oats, and then you end up living with the repercussions of that for the rest of your life, whether that's bastard children, whether that's venereal disease,
Okay, great.
whether
Yeah.
that's just God chastening you and chastising you for committing these big sins of fornication or even adultery, God forbid. You know, these are horrible things that you're going to have to live with because you want to enjoy now
Really quick.
and suffer later. No. You got to suffer now.
I've done a lot of enjoying now in my day, like a lot, and I've never had any of these kind of repercussions upon me. So I guess I'm just built different. God's favorite, maybe? Who's to say?
And enjoy later, okay? And so you're more blessed if you mourn and then you're comforted. Now you say, well, who cares? If I'm going to both suffer and enjoy, what does it matter which order they're in? Here's why it matters. Because it's a lot easier to suffer when you have the enjoyment to look forward to, right? And look, I'm so sorry to get back on food again. It's just too easy to go there. It's just too easy.
What the hell are you talking?
I'm just being lazy. I'm sorry. But if you think about periodic fasting, right? A lot of times when people are trying to go on a diet or lose weight, they'll do a thing called periodic fasting where they'll go like 16 hours without eating.
Jesus.
And then they'll just eat for 8 hours.
In the chat, Pastor Anderson got me saved. And they call his son, like, this is, the congregation has been so moved against these kids that they're literally just calling them slurs in the chat. Imagine trying to prove that you are not abusive to your kids. And the way you try and prove that is by turning an entire congregation against them. Just willy-nilly harassment of teenagers. Incredible.
Today they'll have like a little eating window. Who's ever done something like this before?
Agreeing with the other bozos.
See, that's what I'm saying. People can relate to this, okay? So people have their window. Well, here's what I've noticed. It's a lot easier to skip breakfast than to skip dinner. You know what I mean? It just is. Like you wake up and you just kind of push through until lunch or whatever, and then your eating window is like from lunchtime through dinner time, and then you can eat during that period. But here's what's really hard. Eat that big breakfast.
Eat that big breakfast. Honestly, breakfast kind of sounds like it would hit right now. You know, I have the weirdest, like, craving for cereal right now. I don't know why. Once, probably 2 or 3 times a year. Well, probably, yeah, it's gone down to like maybe 2 times a year where I would be like, I need me some fucking cereal. Gotta get me some of that milky cereal. Favorite cereal, probably Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I really, really like the Honey Bunches of Oats, though. There was a really great one a couple years ago that had like dehydrated strawberries in it. Oh, so good.
Eat that big lunch, and this is like, oh, skip dinner. You know, it's a lot harder. Because at least in the morning when you're pushing through, you're thinking, hey, lunch is going to be good. You know what I mean? I can get there. I can push through. And it seems like you have more willpower in the morning than at night anyway. And by the way, if you're a young man, don't put yourself in compromising positions, especially not in the evening when your willpower is low. That's when you're going to get into trouble. When you're
I love how he's essentially like, as if the young men don't have any power over it. Like, oh gosh, if something happens, it's their fault. Haley Russell, we finished watching the sermon where he talked about me, and I am actually really, really, really hungry. It's probably because I'm so hungry that I'm thinking about food. So I'm gonna go grab something to eat, and I think that's about it for my stream today. Let's go raid. Pay Money Wubby doesn't need me. We're going to go raid Maple Takes. Go say hi. Go give them some support. And I thank you all for joining us tonight and seeing this. And I hope the word continues to get out. And I want to thank especially everybody who has been so wonderful at supporting Miriam and spreading the message about that. And so I hope you all have a great rest of your night.